just add it later. Hey, folks. What up, what up, what up, what up? Happy Tuesday. I'm over here still like trying to get my notes together. Dang, man. That's okay. We're going to make this still work. Let's just double check one thing. Can you guys hear me? Everybody hear me this time? I know last time we got on, I was talking for like 30 seconds and there was no sound. Y'all can hear me, right? I forgot this thing is latent. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, y'all can hear me. Perfect. Hold on. I'm gonna close this door to the side because it's gonna give an echo. Okay. Anyway, happy Tuesday. Where do I start? It's a lot going on, right? There's so much going on. That's why I ran out of time. I didn't even get a chance to write all my notes. There was so much stuff happening. But we're gonna get through all of this and we're gonna make this work. Let me get a few what ups in, and then we will jump right into this. All right, let me just move my laptop down some. All right, let's see who we got here. It's been some foolery here. I feel like I'm short today. I think I'm gonna switch chairs. You know what? We're gonna switch chairs. Hold on. We're gonna do one last thing. I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna see if this chair works. If this chair don't work, I'll keep the one I got. I just need to see what I can do here. Let's move this out the way. See, I was supposed to have this together before y'all came up in here, but okay. Damn, now I'm too tall. We'll make this. We can make this work. This can work. Okay. Maybe if I move back a little bit. All right. You don't need to see my whole head. That's fine. I look buff anyway in this. I'll take it. Okay. So what up? C says hi from London. Any new podcast episodes coming? Yes. I believe episode. I think this is 29. 29 of the podcast is supposed to come, I think, the end of next week. That's, if you don't know, I have a podcast called Comedically Hardheaded, and it is a podcast of like storytelling. So, with this and the YouTube content, I'm usually on here lighting up people or being pissed about whatever is happening politically. Comedically Hardheaded is more so storytelling. We just laugh. And I actually have a good podcast. Okay, you don't leave my podcast pissed off because I'm on there saying a bunch of nonsense, because some of these podcasts that are out, I don't know why some people have platforms, but whatever. But no, so right now I'm currently doing a series about my work with working in youth development and what it was like running a center. And so the next episode will go into year number 2. So yeah, it's coming. It's just so much on the plate. I'm still trying to finish the Mariah So What Happened. And God, man, I almost don't want to do her. She got so much stuff going on. I was like, man, she might have the longest episode. And I really don't want to have the episode be too long, because the Janet and Tony one were pretty long, but you guys like the long stuff. But for me, trying to edit all that is not fun. But it's okay. We're going to work through it. You know what I mean? Let's read a few more comments. If I miss yours, I apologize. We just got to keep it moving. What up, Latoya? What up, Black Queen? Hey, everyone. Let me see. Nikita Clark, what up? Kirk Tarian, what up? I think I said that right. Cynthia Tadamy, what's up? What's up? What's up? Course correction, what up? I'm gonna keep going. Tyler Hackner, what's up? What's up? What's up? Again, everybody, old soul. Shout out to those who are international, who are joining us at some random hours in the morning. I appreciate it. Man, there's a lot going on. So, all right, I'm gonna say it like this. I got my notes for like the first 5 pages. The second half, we're gonna. I'm quick on my feet. We'll still make it work, but I wanted to have a few more locked in notes. But anyway, let us get to Orange Man. I don't like this chair either, man. I'm about to go back to being short. Man, who do I start with? Do I start with Van first? Or we'll start with Orange Man and work our way there. So at this point, we have recognized Orange Man has been booked, right? They done got him. He done flew in on his private Trump plane. That plane looking a little old too, by the way. That plane looked real 2002-ish. I was looking at the body of the plane he was flying. Okay, I mean, it's still more than what I can afford. But I said, I thought, for you to be a billionaire, you're supposed to have like top of the line stuff. But whatever. So he went ahead and he flew from Florida to New York. And I have to say, that was like the most privileged red carpet arraignment I've ever witnessed. You know what I mean? Like, you get to pretty much, again, you got to pick when you wanted to come in. Like I said on the last video, I don't know anybody who's gotten 34 counts of something and got to tell the police and the judge when they're going to turn themselves in. I mean, I know they were still going to do it. They were only going to give them so much of a window, but I was like, oh, all right. So they just let things align for him that way. And then, no mugshot from what I understand, no cuffs. You get to come in when you come in. And I think the entire court system was shut down that day specifically for him. I said, oh, they gave you like a nice red carpet rollout. You know what I mean? Nice. And it's crazy because I'm like, I feel like I ain't see Melania out there. I said, you not gonna stand by your man, Melania? She said, I ain't look. To be honest, Melania is waiting for this man to die. Like she can't wait. I don't know what their prenup is, but I'm sure she gets something if they divorce or if he dies. So that's what she's waiting for. So we haven't seen Melania since he left office. Um, but yeah, I was just like, okay, interesting. And so, like I said on the last thing, I just want to see what happens in Georgia. That's what I'm waiting for. New York is cool, you know, it's cool for yin some rich people stuff and writing checks and all that crap. But Georgia's where the smoke is for me. But you know, entertaining. But again, what I find so entertaining in all of this is they are really trying to push this man to be like a political prisoner. Even when I looked at whatchamacallit, actually, let me see if I can find it. Did I write it on my phone? I was like, what kind of nonsense? Let me see here. What's that thing I saw the other day? I'll come back to it. But yeah, so it's like they're trying to paint him to be this political prisoner and act like, you know, he's a victim to the system and everybody's just been out to get him. And again, I keep saying the same thing where if they can do it to him, they can do it to you. And I'm just like, y'all, that's not how this works. And then you saw Marjorie Taylor Greene with her cuckoo self. And just like I said on the last video, she talked all that trash about how I'm gonna go to New York and we're gonna be out there. We're gonna protest. I was like, none of that crap flies in New York. Like, I'm not even from New York, but I already know you can't go up there doing no nonsense. If you're gonna do some stupid stuff in New York with that kind of foolery, maybe you can get away with it in Long Island, maybe some parts of Staten Island, but you can't do that in no Manhattan, Brooklyn, or Queens, and especially not the Bronx. And so she went out there thinking she was about to just rally and be the voice of the people, and they got her right out of there. She was out there for like 40 minutes. And when I was watching the interview she had, and she started talking about how there's been so many, you know, well-to-do people that were political prisoners of the system. And she started talking about Nelson Mandela. And then she brought up Jesus and how he had been taken by the government. I'm like, this is what happens when y'all be playing and letting loony folks get into power. Like the fact that this woman is in Congress, she's literally making laws and, well, she ain't making nothing, but you know, she's in a capacity where she can sign and put laws into legislation that we all have to live by. That's some crazy stuff that it's gotten this chaotic that she's in office. It ain't just her, it's a bunch of cuckoo ones, but that one there, she's a special kind of slow. Like, I don't normally like to call people stupid, but that one right there, that I don't understand. Like Georgia, I understand she ran unopposed the first time and got in there, but dang, really? Nelson Mandela. I said, that's white folks love to do that too. Like they can sit here and be racist all year, be racist in everything. But with the minute they get into some smoke and they need to pull themselves out, then they want to latch on to black struggles and paint that to be their experience and say, you know, I'm one of you too. Look at what we've all dealt with. Nelson Mandela was a great. And I'm like, listen, if apartheid was in America and we almost there at this point anyway, I guarantee you back in the day, you know, they would have not been supporting on Nelson Mandela. Y'all don't even like the people who are fighting against injustice now in this country. But all of a sudden, y'all love Nelson Mandela. Y'all doing Nelson Mandela the same way y'all did Martin Luther King. Like I said before, when Martin Luther King died, he died with an approval rating of 38%. Okay, he was no hero to white folks at all. They hated him, thought he was too radical. And mind you, he was the one doing, he had the approach where it was like, okay, we're going to try to meet y'all where y'all at. We're going to be nonviolent. We're going to appeal to your Christian core values because we love Jesus just like y'all love Jesus. And we're going to sing. We're going to put on suits. We're going to do the respectability thing. We're going to get all these educated people that are well-spoken and can present their words. And did all that. And y'all was still throwing bricks and burning crosses. And you killed his mama. Like, man. And then, you know, years later, then you realize there were other leaders as well that had different viewpoints and y'all were kind of scared of them. So you decided to make Martin like the voice of all the people. And it's even funny then because you remember like towards the end, Martin's ideologies were still the same, but he kind of restructured his approach and kind of felt like, okay, maybe I'm leading these people into a burning house. And it wasn't because he was flawed in his decision making, but I think it's kind of the realization that when it comes to certain groups of folks collectively, the bar is so low, there is no standard that you can ever even hold anybody to when it comes to things like racism, because there's no limit to how low they will go. And I think towards the end, that's one of the things he was discovering. And I think the reason why, when you talk about his approval rating being so low towards the end, is because he kind of had a similar approach to even like a Fred Hampton, where it's kind of like, yes, you know, we're going to do this black folks thing, but we're going to bring in every other group of people that also are marginalized and are, you know, in some kind of struggle, in some kind of setback. And if we can work together, we can overpower a system that's screwing all of us over if we can see through our differences. And stuff like that is scary, because when you get some real numbers out there and you start getting all them different coalitions and groups together, then it's a mess. So they got him out of there. But That was his approach. I don't know if that's necessarily mine because I just feel like we don't have allies in this game at all. Every time we think we got an ally, the true colors come out as soon as there's an opportunity for it to show. So, much respect to him and what he was able to get accomplished. But man, they love to paint this picture like Orange Man is just, y'all killing me with this. You're killing me with it. And so I saw this other thing where Trump's lawyer was like, yeah, and Trump is like, actually, I saved it in my phone. Let me read it because I need y'all to hear it the way I heard it. He said some bullshit. Where's it at? Where's it at? Donald Trump is Tupac. Tupac is Biggie Smalls. And his indictment is only going to boost his image. That's the other thing. Every time they try to do this whole thing where they try to say they're one of the people, or especially if they try to connect with black folks, because I saw the other person some weeks back earlier saying, oh, they just secured the black vote for Trump. I'm like, see, the fact that you associate us with just crime and violence is a problem for me. And the fact that whenever there's an effort to want to appeal to black people collectively, y'all go straight for the entertainers. Tupac and Biggie. It's almost like when people run for office and those are always the go-to for everybody. Well, who did you listen to when you said, oh, I used to always play Tupac? Everybody wasn't listening to him. Now, some of y'all are lying. That's all I'm saying, all right? It's the only two people they know, Tupac and Biggie. That's all they know. You ask them to start singing a song or something, they be like, all the songs, they were just all so special to me. They just, I don't know if there's just one I can name. I don't know. But yeah, they just on some nonsense, right? And I just want people to understand, because I know I was probably catching some smoke in my Trump video. I haven't even seen the comments on it yet. But I know there's going to be folks who are like, oh, blah, 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 Joe Biden, Joe Biden. And for the millionth time, me frying up Orange Man does not all of a sudden mean I give a pass to Joe Biden either. And understand, Trump is not our friend and has never been. And I know some of y'all were like, oh, but we got the $1,200 checks during COVID. Understand that was the House and the Senate voting on that. That was Democrats, believe it or not. He just signed the bill and put his name on it and told y'all he gave us the $1,200. But folks will latch on to some nonsense because they got a quick check, which I find very interesting. Again, your own collective can be collateral if you can get a quick little check. And so folks are jumping in all that. So I was like, let me go back and find some of these old quotes of y'all boys, since y'all want to really act like all of a sudden he's always been down with us, and he's not, right? Main quote, I love the reference, 91, right? John O'Donnell, former president of Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, which is now closed, quoted Trump's criticism of a black accountant. Black guys counting my money, I hate it. The only kind of people I want counting my money are short guys that wear, what's them things, the Yamahawks, y'all know what I'm talking about. Every day. I think the guy is lazy, and it's probably not his fault, because laziness is a trait in blacks. I'll say that again. And it's probably not his fault, because laziness is a trait in blacks. It really is. I believe it. It's not anything they can control. Trump later said in a Playboy interview that stuff that O'Donnell wrote about me is probably true. So again, and that's just one thing. And then we saw what happened with the real estate and how there was the whole lawsuit because he didn't want the black folks living on that side. I told you, I don't rock with most of these politicians, but y'all are not about to sit here and try to all of a sudden paint Trump to be some kind of martyr or some kind of hero just because he goes against the grain. Is it somewhat entertaining to kind of watch him ruffle feathers every now and then? I'll be honest, yeah, I cackle a little bit, but at the same time, he is no ally of mine. There is nothing that I'm going to gain by him ever being in power. And the crazy part is, as cuckoo as he is, now you got somebody who's like 10 times worse, in my opinion. You got DeSantis coming down the pipeline, and I'm like, this is the best we got, huh? Cool, awesome, just amazing. That's the American way, right? And then it's just, you got the nonsense, and now they're trying to kind of threaten people who are behind the scenes or who are in charge. You've seen all the things he said about Alvin Bragg. You've seen what he said about the judge, and he wants to move the venue because this is a Democrat area and blah 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 blah. And again, that's always been a pattern we've seen, especially in cases when it's the police that have killed somebody black and unarmed. They love to move a venue every time. We talked about that with the Liberty City riots of 81 or 1980, like the same thing, right? They always want to move the venue, get to an area where, it's not as diverse, you know what I mean? And so you got that nonsense going on. You got his son posting the judge's daughter's picture on social media. You know what I mean? Like, they do these things to try to push their weight, because again, now they're in a situation where, even though a lot of these folks are all interconnected and tied together anyway, but in this instance, they're a little powerless at the moment. all they have right now is influence, but influence doesn't do much in regard to law, depending on who the judge is. And again, you got some black people in charge at this moment in a few of these things, and they remember a lot of the nonsense that he said about these specific individuals, especially calling the DA animals and all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, this is the nonsense that we're at, and it's just very interesting. But I will say, what has been the most entertaining aspect for me, and something I did not expect. The whole bit about the hush money for a possible kid on the side. I mean, what's the quote? I was like, wait a minute, Trump, you down here laying it down, huh? Okay, according to court documents and statements made on the record in court from August 2015 to December 2017, Trump orchestrated his catch and kill scheme through a series of payments that he then concealed through months of false business entries. In one instance, American Media Inc. paid $30,000 to a former Trump Tower doorman who claimed to have a story about a child Trump had out of wedlock. I said, oh, excuse me. All right, laying it down, Mr. Billionaire. In the second instance, AMI paid $150,000 to a woman who alleged she had a sexual relationship with Trump when Trump explicitly directed a lawyer who then worked for the Trump Organization as Trump's special counsel to reimburse AMI in cash. The special counsel indicated to Trump that the payment should be made via a shell company and not by cash. AMI ultimately declined to accept reimbursement after consulting their counsel. AMI was later admitted to its conduct was unlawful in agreement with federal prosecutors, made false entries in its business records concerning the true purpose of the $150,000 payment. Back to this child. I might sound terrible, but I'm gonna just say this. If I was that doorman and you're running around here talking about you're worth $10 billion, you're gonna give me more than $30,000 to be quiet. Like, I'm gonna have a whole new lifestyle. I'm gonna have some property with some nice grass, a lake house, all right, and I'm gonna have all kind of special fish in that lake. It's gonna be bluegill and perk and all kind of stuff. Like, you $30,000, I would have sold that same day. You gonna offer me that little prize or consolation prize? Either give me some real money or I'm telling. Like, I'm sorry, but interesting that, now that's alleged. They can't confirm that because, again, that was somebody who was trying to sell a story, I think, to the Inquirer. We know the Inquirer is one step from trash. Inquirer is like the paper version of TMZ and Shade Room. So, but it's so interesting because, again, they're trying to paint this man to be like Robin Hood, right? They're trying to make it like he's a man of the people. I'm like, no, he's a man of his pockets. So, yeah, he'll do anything to make sure his pockets are aligned. And even if people are collateral, so be it. And so when they keep trying to push this narrative and make it seem like, he's a victim of the system, he's not. He's not. Again, and like I said, I have my critiques of this entire system, but we're not going to equate it to his experience because this is some rich people stuff. He was over there doing some scheming and got caught up, and that's what he gets. It is what it is. May you receive what it is you put into the universe. And so they can save all that crap. I know he had like some rally or something today, and like I said, he's moving like business as usual because this is the perfect way to fundraise, to bring in new revenue. So he had some rally. I was watching it on the TV earlier, and of course, they have the patriotic songs, the proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Got all of that ready, and they're waving the flags because, this is definitely going to be a whole thing, and he's going to make a lot of money off of this. It's going to be a great way to pay off the lawyers and a great way to line the pockets. And it's funny because they keep trying to act like he's the first politician to ever, be arrested, or they're trying to paint it like everybody's been out to get him. I'm like, did we forget about John Edwards back in the day? Remember John Edwards from like the early 2000s? Like, he was supposed to kind of be that viable candidate that may have had a shot if he could somewhat get a leg up on like Hillary and Barack Obama, right? But remember, he had stepped out on the wife, which was jacked up because the wife had breast cancer at the time. And he stepped out on the wife, and again, hush money, all kind of stuff. He went to jail, and they got him right out of there. You didn't see all these people running and rallying behind him and trying to paint him to be Machiavelli and all this other random stuff they want him to be. And it's funny because a lot of the very same pundits that have been attacking this entire thing and saying this is unfair to Trump, especially a lot of the right-wing cuckoo folks at Fox News and whatever, the OAN and all the networks, a lot of those same people were saying, throw the book at John Edwards, right? So the book was thrown at John Edwards. Now we don't want to keep the same energy. Now all of a sudden, it didn't have to go this far. What are y'all talking about? Because if it was one of us everyday folks doing some kind of nonsense, they get us quick. Even with taxes, let you go file taxes and let something not be right. All right, they will come and audit you for $800. All right, so I don't want to hear it. Let me pause, and I'm going back to my other chair because I don't like how this feels. I need my arms to feel free, so I'm gonna switch this chair and I'm gonna light up Man Jones real quick. Man, let's move this right back over. Sorry guys, I gotta be short again. I don't like how this feels sitting down here. Boom. Okay. That's better. All right. I felt like I was like too tall. And In another life, I'm 6'5", but today I'll just do my regular height. Now for Van Jones, right? So let me just read the little stupid quote he had, because Van Jones loves to fail us every time he gets an opportunity. So, Mr. Van Jones, where is that person at? Okay. Now this was in regards to Trump being arrested. Now this is after we've seen the footage of, Trump getting the luxury red carpet walk into the courthouse and everything. And for some reason, it's just connected with Van. This was something that it really tugged at his heartstrings, and he just felt a connection, and he just needed us to all know. And so he says, he looks sad. This is in response to what he thinks about Trump. He looks sad. I don't like the prison system, so I don't like this process. Doesn't mean that accountability is not old, but that is granddad having a very bad day. That's the line right there that got me. That is granddad having a very bad day. I'm like, Trump don't even take care of his kids, please. He already ain't claiming with about 2 or 3 of them, right? We got this other person paying off $30,000. I have yet to see him take Barron go fishing. Barron ain't ever been fishing. Barron ain't been to no basketball court. He don't take Barron to get no ice cream. Barron ain't been to no Chuck E. Cheese. And Trump got the money. He can build a Chuck E. Cheese in his house. I bet you Barron ain't got it. Barron has a boring room. I know his room in that house was boring, right? It's probably some made-in furniture, old-fashioned, some good oak stuff for like adults. They never let Barron be a kid. I can see it already. So don't act like all of a sudden Trump was freaking grandpa from the Waltons and he just used to have all the kids come to grandpa's house and they played with toys and played with the puppy. I don't want to hear that bullshit. Like, please. And so what Van is doing is trying to, again, his approach is always reaching out to middle America because he loves to play and be the safe black guy, the black person that's digestible for everybody else. And so for all of the nonsense that Trump has done, and again, this is not just about me because I don't like Trump, because I don't like a lot of these politicians, but Trump is an anomaly with the shit that he's done. And so, when I see like Van trying to humanize it and all, he just looks sad. Trump been running his mouth all week. Like I said, he done called the DA an animal. He just was at his rally talking his trash. He ain't look sad to me. You know what I mean? Talking the trash and threatening this person and telling everybody to come and protest and, let's set up and protest and fight. And we got to, people may die and all kind of, well, he ain't say that, but somebody else said it. All those crazy kind of things there. Now, all of a sudden, because again, you are trying to secure your check, you want to all of a sudden paint this man. He looks sad. That's grandpa had a bad day. Trump does not identify as nobody's grandpa because Trump still thinks he's 25, right? That's why he got Melania over there injecting her face to still look young so she can still be somewhat appeasing and stand next to him because he thinks he's a hot commodity. And y'all over here talk about sad grandpa. Please let me know when the last time you saw him do some grandpa stuff. I know he ain't been to none of Barron's school activities. If Barron was in the school choir, I know Trump didn't sit through that. I don't want to hear it. The other son, remember when him and Don Jr. weren't close and Don wasn't speaking to him for years? Like, I don't want to hear it. And then what's the other daughter? Not Ivanka. What's her name? The one he does not claim. He claimed her, but he don't be claiming her like that. Like she's the outcast daughter. I don't know if he didn't think she was attractive enough or what, but she was always Tiffany. Thank you. Tiffany Trump. We don't even hear about her. He never gasses up Tiffany. Okay. Tiffany be living in the basement somewhere, living off bread and water. So I don't want to hear it. And anyway, I told y'all, be mindful of black folks or black faces in high spaces. Because a lot of times there's people who get into positions and they're really out for themselves. And Van Jones has shown us that so many times, time and time again. You know what I mean? And so it's like for Van, he recognizes that if he can play the middle, do the whole both sides of the aisle thing, let's be friends with everybody. And, he can always just make sure his job is secured. And I'm just like, I don't buy it. And like I said, he plays it safe for white America. He's always done that. And I think it started, especially after Trump got in and he talked about, this was white lash. And he was saying this was white America's response to Obama being in there. And he caught a lot of smoke. He ain't never been the same since then. He was already kind of tripping back then too. But that's when he really decided, let me keep it light and bright. Like, let me not say too much. And so he just does these things now. And then we fast forward. You think about like the first State of the Union Orange Man had, and Van Jones was like, this was the time he finally was presidential. And I'm like, he didn't say nothing. He spent the whole time cussing out everybody that didn't agree with his politics, and that was presidential. Okay, you know what I mean? And then again, him partnering with Meghan McCain of all people, and y'all can say what y'all want. Meghan McCain is not an ally either. But he does this whole both sides thing. I told you guys about that time I went to some event. I got invited, and it was him and Jake Tapper, and I knew something was up because when I went there, it was nothing but white women in the crowd. I was like, wait a minute, Sound right. Yeah, okay. All right. And it was the white women that were pissed that Trump had gotten office. So this was the 57%, not the 53. Actually, no, it wasn't 57% of white women that voted Democrat. It was 53 that voted for Trump, and then it was split through whatever. But not 57, 53, 47. There we go. It was the other demographic of folks that didn't vote for Trump. And so, they were in there pissed about how their lives are going to be ruined and everything. And he was trying to do this whole speech about we needed to understand the plight of the blue collar, working class, white American. And that's where like black people had dropped the ball. That's where we dropped the ball. We didn't understand their plight and they were frustrated. And so they took it to the polls. And so we have to kind of just accept that. And I guess the step that we're supposed to make is to reach across the aisle. And I'm sitting here looking at this nonsense. Like, so last time I recalled, and this is nothing against working class white Americans, but y'all didn't have a bunch of policies written to work against y'all. So whatever situation y'all ended up in, God bless you on your journey. But again, there were no covenants written to ensure that you couldn't live in certain neighborhoods. There were no covenants and stuff written to ensure that, you couldn't open businesses in certain areas because they created zoning laws specifically for certain groups to not participate. None of that was for y'all. That didn't happen to y'all. Y'all weren't left out of the New Deal. Y'all weren't left out of the GI Bill. Y'all weren't left out of the FHA program. Y'all weren't left out of a whole bunch of things. So I understand when we talk about capitalism, there's always going to be some people that are at the bottom because of how that system works. But you're not about to sit here and equate the experience, or even not even equate, put the experience of working class white Americans over the experience of black Americans in regards to who has it the hardest. That's not how this works. But that's what he sat there and tried to run on. And then all them stupid people in the crowd clapping. And I'm sitting here looking at everybody. Oh, and they ain't had no snacks or nothing in there. I was in there thirsty, hungry, lightheaded, but sitting there with that nonsense. Now there was one white lady in there who did get it in. She lit him up. I was like, okay, somebody understands. Somebody caught on. But still, like I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? And so the other thing I think about when Van Jones apologized for the comments that Kanye had been saying, the whole anti-Semitic stuff, and he actually did I write the quote down for that too? I probably didn't write it down because I got annoyed. I ain't write it down, but he apologized on behalf of the black community for everything Kanye, same person. Kanye had, not really, but close enough. Kanye had been saying. And, he was like, because black people didn't speak out enough. And then he started saying, like, because when black folks were going through what they were going through with the civil rights stuff, we wanted everybody to march and fight for us. But now we're silent with everything that's happening to them. I'm like, but everything is still happening to us. And I'm kind of tired of this narrative where black people have to be the mule for everybody else's struggle. You know what I mean? Like I keep saying, we ain't got no allies in this. I'm cool with anybody who respects my plight and wants to help or wants to be a friend. Cool. Kudos to you. I might send you a muffin basket, but I still believe structurally and collectively, we have no allies in any of this, because every single time black people get a piece of something, you watch another group come in there and say, well, I wish we had this too. Maybe if black people fought for us to get this too, then things would be great. I literally just saw a post on Twitter today. It was in response to, the lady from Abbott Elementary, where I guess she had a monologue on Saturday Night Live, and they were talking about Friends and how they didn't have any black characters, and it was like a whole bunch of white folks living in New York in the 90s, and that didn't represent New York. So some random person was like, well, I don't see any Asian people on Abbott Elementary. I'm like, here y'all go. Y'all want to bring everybody into everything. Like, understand, if you're going to talk about a show like Abbott Elementary, okay, it's a show in the inner city in Philadelphia. Not to be rude or stereotypical, because I'm sure there are anomalies, but you don't typically see a lot of Asian people teaching in inner city schools. You just don't see a lot. There are some, but you don't see them specifically in that situation. And the part that makes it so funny is Quinta has Asian writers in the writer's room. So I'm like, sometimes I understand when you're talking about period pieces or pieces that reflect the experience of a community, that's what it is. But all of a sudden, you weren't thinking about anybody in the Asian community until she highlighted the fact that a show like Friends didn't really have a diverse cast. Now, all of a sudden, you care about other groups of people represented on this show that has, a black showrunner. Now, all of a sudden, now we need to talk about diversity. Like, y'all be playing these games because y'all love to be exclusive when it comes to y'all. But the minute y'all aren't included in something, and actually the thing that makes it interesting is the person that wrote it was a white guy. And so that's what I'm talking about. But y'all love to be exclusive and stuff and everything. And then when there's something that you feel you're not included with, then all of a sudden we want to talk about being inclusive. And so I just found it so just convenient for him to bring that up. It's like you've had your whole life to highlight the fact that Asians are not represented in a lot of television, because it is a thing where there's not a lot of representation. But it's funny that, once a black showrunner brings up a comment about something, a flaw that existed in the 90s, and just highlighting how a lot of the shows in the past really didn't reflect the realities of societies that they were in. Now, all of a sudden, you got the fuel now. You got fuel. You got the motivation to speak up. You done sat here and saw the same shows we saw. Now, all of a sudden, it would have been nice if they could do that. It's interesting. Like, I remember when I first started this channel. This was back when, well, now they're the Commanders, but this is back when they still had the other name, and I made a video about it years ago, right? So all these people came in. Well, we don't. You don't care about this. You just blah, 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 blah. I don't see you saying anything else about the Native Americans. And it was so funny because I had like 5 or 6 other videos specifically relating to a lot of the stuff that was happening to that collection. And I was like, okay, let me send you the link to that video. Here's the link to that video. Here's the link to that video. This is when I used to still respond to people that were arguing with me. And one of the people was like, oh, wow, bro. Okay. You actually, I didn't even really check your stuff, but okay, man. Yeah, okay. I respect what you're doing. Like, get out my face. But no, they be on some nonsense. You know what I mean? And the thing is this. The idea of reaching across the aisle doesn't work when on the other side of the aisle is pretty much, I don't want to say your enemy, but again, the other side of the aisle is pretty much the face of anti-blackness. Across the aisle is systemic racism. Across the aisle is oppression. Across the aisle is ensuring that systems stay in place to disenfranchise groups of people. Across the aisle is status quo. There's no middle ground in that, because when you have a middle ground, you still compromise on the things that you're fighting for just to appease the other side. So they still get what they want. In the end, you end up losing more, and they still get everything that they wanted. Because every time we talk about reaching across the aisle, we've seen how that worked. We saw how that worked with the Affordable Care Act, right? You know, Barack Obama wanted to do the universal health care. They have this grand version of the Affordable Care Act, has all of these great things in it, would have actually been a great benefit for the country. But, and it's so funny because he had a supermajority at the time. You had the House and the Senate. You didn't even need Republicans, and you could have pushed it right on through. But he said, no, we have to reach across the aisle because we need to include everybody. We want everybody to be a part of it. This is going to be historic legislation. So he makes this big old committee with, you know, people on both sides of the aisle. You got some Republicans, you got some Democrats, you got people that are more so to the left, more to the right, some that kind of sit in the middle, some moderates, some independents, put them all on this panel. And they made 200 different amendments to the Affordable Care Act, right? 200 different amendments before it could go to the floor. And so they've stripped and chopped down and compromised. All right, we'll take this out. Okay, we'll take this. All right, we'll take this out. Okay, we'll take this out. And by the time we get there, the only thing that's really left in it is, okay, no pre-existing condition. That's pretty much the last bit that we got, right? And then they go and take it to the floor, and not a single Republican voted for it anyway. So it's kind of like you played yourself. You could have pushed a better version of the bill right through the House and through the Senate, but you decided to be friends with everybody, which I understand. That's respectability in this game. You want to be friends with everybody. Not me necessarily, but I understand politics. That's the way it works. You build allies, build your coalitions, and build and grow and grow. I get it. But where they forgot in a lot of this is like, hey, this is somebody who to white America appears to be a black man. They are never going to be his friend. They are never going to let him get the livelihood of having any kind of successful legislation. So they're going to fight tooth and nail against everything. That's exactly what they did. So by you trying to be everybody's friend and reaching across the aisle and trying to have conversations, you know, you got a shell of what could have been something super, super great. Now, I will not knock the Affordable Care Act because there's still some great things behind it, but look at how much has been chipped away from it. You know what I mean? And then it kind of even goes back to the whole thing with Henry Louis Gates, right? Henry Louis, you know, he lives in his neighborhood. He gets stopped by the police officer. There's a whole hoopla about it. And like I said, Barack wanted to be everybody's friend. He was really trying to push this narrative of if we can just come together and understand our differences, we'd be great. I see the world the exact same way, but there's a huge collective in this country that doesn't. So I'm also not a fool to still play into that same game. So what did he say? Well, we'll just sit and have some beers. Let's just, you know, and I was like, okay, Barack, that's cool. And that officer would not budge on his opinion. He was like, I'm not backing down. I'm not apologizing. I ain't did nothing wrong. Right. So that's where reaching across the aisle gets you. But Van Jones loves to play that because he recognizes that it will always secure his paycheck. And so, you know, and my thing is when you talk about especially reaching, because his brand is reaching across the middle America. They're not the only MFs in this country. No disrespect to them. They're one specific demographic, but there are tons of groups represented in this country. And for some reason, in politics and in media, that's the core demographic everybody wants to appeal to. You know what I mean? And so he kills me doing that because then he uses that fake voice because that's not his real speaking voice over there talking all like he's speaking softer than I speak. I'm like, bruh. All right, and he put on the glasses, and if he ain't doing that, he crying about something, and there's nothing wrong with crying. But when I look at what he's crying about, I'm like, man, get it together. This is not what we gonna shed tears over because this is some nonsense. But you know, again, I have nothing against people being emotional and crying. It's good. It's cleansing for the soul. I understand. But no, playing the middle gets you nowhere collectively. Sorry, it doesn't. But he recognizes that he's moving for the bag, not for the collective. And that's why he does the things that he continues to do. And understand middle America always stays complicit in everything. That's why you don't see them out here protesting about books and stuff being banned from libraries. You don't see them going out here and fighting about all the laws that are coming out that are very punitive, that go against different groups and collectives. They're not saying anything. They chilling. They good. A lot of middle America is fine with the status quo. They show up when they feel that they're losing something. And until they feel like they're losing something, everybody else is collateral. So I don't know why we spend all day trying to be friends with that collective and trying to win them over. You're not winning them over. They're only moving when there's something that benefits them. And unfortunately, if they see something benefits them and benefits somebody else, then that means there's something working against them. And they shut that right back down. Not at all. And they put somebody even crazier in. That's how we get Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jim Jordan and Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and even a Tim Scott. We'll get a black one. He can play the role. If he can say the stupid stuff, put him in there too. So yeah, I'm not dealing with it. I'm going to pause because I've said a mouthful. And, oh, we got trolls. Oh, look, I'm quick on my feet. I got time today. All right, let's go to the chat and we shall keep it going. All right. Man, get on my nerves, man. Where we at? Nikita Clark says, I'm so frustrated. Van Jones is on that Clarence Thomas juice. I'm not even going to keep talking about Clarence because I bring him up every time. But again, Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act. Thank you, Clarence, for telling us that America was an equal playing field and we didn't need voter protections anymore. Now we see what's happening. We see the gerrymandering. We see all of these crazy laws that are coming out there. You saw what they just did in Florida, where they're making it harder for college students and stuff to vote. And so they have this law where they're trying to put it out there where you have to be at the poll to vote if you're like a college student. So college students that leave the state of Florida and go, I don't know, they go to Stanford, they go to University of Colorado, they go to Gonzaga, they go to Oregon, all these different places. They would have to actually technically physically fly to Florida to vote. They cannot do absentee. That's the law that they're trying to push out there. So things like that are a result of Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act being stripped down. That's where we're at. So this is what happens, again, when you have folks who, again, want to play the middle and think everything is all good. Oh no, not at all. Y'all, like they swore and started to move as if all of the terrible people that did terrible things back in the day during Jim Crow all of a sudden died and the ideologies died with them. No, the ideologies just evolved into the next generation and found its way into media, into education, into everything else. Ain't nothing changed around these parts. The only thing that changed is the camera lens. Everything's in color now. It ain't in black and white. And it's HD and in 4K. All right. I don't get what this person's trying to say, so I'm gonna bypass that comment. I don't get it. Brittany D, you and I are on the same page. Look, if you can't make it in a system that's basically built to help you succeed, it's hard to feel sorry, right? Pretty much. Gina Newton said, Priest, it's not our job. And I hate to sound selfish. Like, I want everybody to get what is rightfully theirs when it comes to marginalized groups in this country. But for some reason, people tend to latch on to Black struggle and Black journeys and Black movements and then think we're supposed to go and do it for everybody else. And I'm like, we have yet to get what's supposed to be for us. Right. And so, everybody wants us to go and fight for them. And I'm cool. I want you to get what's rightfully yours. And I have no problem. Like, if there's some legislation that comes in, it's like, hey, do you support that this group of people get? Sure. But I mean, it's not going to come at the expense of what's supposed to also come from me. Oh, and it's not to like take away from anything, but like, let's be real here. Like, no, it's not my job to carry everybody's burden and everybody's struggle because they're not doing it for me. And a lot of times, even in a lot of these movements, when you try to have these people of color coalitions and whatever, anti-Blackness still finds its way. Even in the diaspora, we have that issue, right? So anti-Blackness, it shows up real quick. So understand, it's not our job to be everybody's mule. Everybody's gonna everybody got a mouth, so you're gonna have to use it. Like, fight and do whatever. And then, I'm all for groups coming together and making a larger movement and fighting for something. But what's not going to happen is me doing all the work and then you get the benefit and then you get to critique how we do stuff. And then when it's finally our turn to get something, well, it's not the time. Well, this is going to be divisive. All right. No, that ain't how this works. No. All right. Okay, I keep seeing y'all talk about something with $200 million. What y'all talking about? Oh, y'all are talking about what they gave Van Jones. Yeah, because then what was it, Bezos? Yeah, just Bezos gave him like 100 million. See, secure in the bag. He knew how to play the field and play the middle and be everybody's friend. And we just need to look across the aisle and you get $100 million and this $100 million is supposed to be for him to do more community work and restorative justice and all this stuff. And I ain't really seen too much. I seen him do something with Meghan McCain, some kind of program they got, but All right, if you say so. Ms. Nuru says, yet Marjorie Taylor Greene can insult it. Exactly. Marjorie Taylor Greene gets to say all the anti-Semitic stuff she wants all day, but I didn't see Van Jones going over here and apologizing on behalf of all of America. But you want to come in and all of a sudden Kanye does his Kanye thing. You know Kanye already ain't playing with a full deck. You want to have him represent the whole black community, all 40 million of us. All right, you apologize for them. Don't speak for me, because I ain't never said nothing too out of pocket about any marginalized group of people. But we're not doing that today. Man. What happened? All of you gonna bite your words because the tables are turned for your own good. This man, what? Versed everybody on your constitutional right, but nobody paid attention. Shame on you. I don't know what you're talking about, but all right, if you say so. People, do your research. Okay. All right. Where are my glasses? Thank you. We are not responsible for the words of Kanye. Listen, and this is not to just light up Kanye, because Kanye is on his own journey. Kanye, you do your thing. Just don't be including me in a bunch of nonsense. That's all I'm saying. Like, don't, when celebrities do stuff, celebrities don't represent me. So when celebrities mess up, yeah, I don't need you to speak on behalf of the black community because of what a celebrity said. Please. Um, who? All right, I need some good. All right, she said, "Color is an illusion." Oh, okay. Color is an illusion. We all come from a tribe. You either Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal. Stop the color garbage. That, if you want to agree and see it that way, well, then I need you to respond to all the policy that's been created and all the law that is there. Y'all can sit here and have this color thing in your mind, and this goes back to like when Pharrell had his 2 cents about new blacks, and new blacks don't let the problems of the past affect their future, and new blacks have a new mindset. And then you saw what happened with his family member, and all of a sudden he got a wake-up call and didn't even want to have his festival in Virginia Beach anymore because that police brutality kicked in. Y'all can sit here and do all this We Are the World stuff all day, but understand, that's all ideal. That's all in the mind. That's what we all would like to have. We would all love to have the idea of just living together in harmony amongst each other. That's cool with me. However, we got policy in the way of that. And we got a lot of people who are greedy, who will fight and claw to get a bit of everything at the expense of everybody else. We have people who are violent, who don't even want us here, who will find every way to obliterate us and get us out of here if they can. So no, I can't sit here and be kumbaya, Eureka's Castle, because you want to have a free mindset and think it's just all in our minds. This crap ain't in our minds. We can watch the news every day and see the nonsense that's going on. I'm gonna get to North Carolina A&T in a minute. That's your we all the same people speech right there. All right, got some crazy white men trying to go and shoot up at HBCU. Next in line, please. Talking about all this hate. It's not, because this same person saying it's being hate. It's not hate. Understand. Black people having their guard up against white supremacy is not hate. It's just recognizing that we've seen how history has worked in the past and in the present and how it's going to work in the future. It's keeping your guard up. It ain't hate. It's just being realistic. Now, do we hate the system? Yes, we do. The actual individuals, I don't have hate in my heart for nobody. Now, there's a few folks out on effort like that, and I'll give everybody somewhat of a chance, but my guard is always up. And see, that's the problem. People like to individualize systemic issues and paint it about their feelings and how they see the world, and then all of a sudden want to paint everybody else to be crazy. Next in line. Tara, don't comment no more, because you over here embarrassing yourself. Anyway, next in line. Course correction. You and I are on the same page. Obama did the same thing with the Supreme Court nominee. They should have got rid of the filibuster and filled the spot. And in addition to that, the fact that Merrick Garland was going to be the choice still doesn't really sit that well with me, because, again, Merrick Garland was going to be somebody that plays the middle. Like, look at how he's been moving, even with Trump and everything. Like, Merrick Garland is safe, right? A lot of these people that play the middle are too scared to ever shake the table because they don't want to mess up their livelihood. And so they don't want to be the face of something, depending on how history decides to reveal itself in the future. So they play the middle on everything and play it safe. I don't think Merrick Garland would have been a good Supreme Court justice at all. He wouldn't have been dependable on anything. And like I've said before, I personally think the Supreme Court should just already be balanced anyway. It shouldn't be one side. I don't think it should lean one way, and I don't think it should lean the other way. I think it should be a balance of different experiences on a Supreme Court, because understand, America, like we said, it's a place of 330 million people that come from so many different experiences. You have people that live in coastal cities that have a very fast-paced life. You have people that live in rural areas. You have people that live in suburban areas. You have people that are super rich, people that are super poor, people that are highly educated, people who didn't get an opportunity to get the education they want, people who are blue collar, people who are white collar. You can't represent that with 9 people. You just can't. And so with the decisions that are made, people end up being collateral. And now we're at the space where it's been so politicized that, look at the nonsense we have. The Supreme Court has no credibility at this point because they just got anything going. And then even some of the ones who got on there lied during their initial process of getting on. And do you respect and look at this law as precedent and this law in the land? Oh yes, I do. And as soon as they got in there, they was strict. I ain't doing it. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. Why is my chat moving so slow? All right, here we go. So let's keep going. I'm trying to get through a few more of these comments here. All right. Why I got like the QAnon people in here? Ain't y'all supposed to be flying to Mars or something next week? I know y'all always got something crazy going on. Listen, when Mars opens up, y'all go ahead and be the first ones on the plane. I promise you. We will not stop y'all from flying to the next planet. Go right ahead. It's nice and cool over there. You ain't got to worry about it being too hot. Ain't gonna be no sunburn. Enjoy yourself. You're gonna have a good time over there. And it's far away from us. You ain't even got to deal with you. You won't even have to see me no more. All right. Now, this is a good question, Alan. How many years do we think Tangerine will get in prison due to the charges being federal? Honestly, I don't know. Like, I would like to believe that the system would work the way it's supposed to, but I can see a whole bunch of technicalities, and they give him 6 months, and then it's suspended before he has to go, and he just pays a fine, and he goes back to talking trash. I can see that kind of nonsense happening. That's why my money's on Georgia. But we'll see. But it's just we've seen so many moments where people who have a lot of power and wealth just get to cheat the system and get to do whatever they want. You know what I mean? And I don't think Trump is an exception to that. I feel like there's still some loopholes they're going to be able to find. I can see some nonsense with this, but I will say 34 counts is hard to get to break up out of. But I don't know. So my hopes, like I think people thought when I made the last video, I was excited, like, oh, this fixes everything. Nah, I just want to see how this plays out. But I'm enjoying watching this all come together because it's like finally something can humble that man a little bit because he runs around and talk too much trash, feels invincible. So it's like, okay, I want to see how this is going to play out. And I think you just at some point you have to make an example out of some folks because when you don't, then it just breeds and creates more chaos and more nonsense. And I think that's why our politics are the way they are now. When you just talk about how extreme a lot of the people who are coming into power are in the last 10 years, because there haven't been enough people held accountable for a lot of things. Like think about, even when Nixon did his nonsense, the fact that, pretty much folks started getting pardoned right away. So nobody really had to do any real jail time minus like 1 or 2 people. I think the vice president got charged with some stuff at the time. When Reagan had all his nonsense going on, and then Bush came in to follow up, and Bush pardoned everybody that was tied to like the Iran Contra and all that stuff. I'm like, see, all right. So yeah. And you know what's crazy? Actually, no, I'm not gonna say it. I'll save it for later. Nope. All right. I gotta get to the next few stories here. We're gonna keep it going though. Natasha said, no more programs, reparations only. I'm kind of in that same boat with the idea of programs. I feel like you can do both, but I think the flaw that I've seen is they try to use programs as the solution. And it's like, no, at this point, things are so far gone. You're going to have to find a way to pull people up and make people whole. And these programs that take 20 and 30 years to kick into fruition, that's not going to work. Plus, we already know once they do that, then the program, then all of a sudden it's going to be starting, it's going to go from this is supposed to make Black people, Black Americans whole, and then it's going to start adding all the other groups. And this group, well, they had something happen to them too. And back in the day in Indonesia, there was that ferry that sank, and they didn't have the life vest boats on there. And they want the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, who ain't got nothing to do with the waters in the Indian Ocean. They weren't able to get over there fast enough, and so they need a check too because they dealt with this. And before you know it, everybody's pulling out of the program, and then you left out of it. Yeah, well, it's kind of full. Y'all have to reapply next year. Nope, that ain't how this gonna work. Only reason I brought up Indonesia because I saw some special back in the day where there was this ferry that sank, and they didn't have the life vest on the thing. I was like, "How y'all got a ferry with no life vest?" And then sadly, a lot of the people died because they couldn't swim. Anyway, I agree. People love to talk about this supposed to be a utopia, but we have to deal with the real world and the current state. Like again, like I said, in an ideal world, I would love for everybody to just be in a space where we can all live collectively amongst each other and say what's up to your neighbor and everything is great and it's a great time. Like that's what we were brought up to think America was. Unfortunately, by the time you become an adult, you see it's not that at all. And even though that's the idea you want, you can't sit here and move with that ideology in this world. You're going to get burned and get scarred and probably end up in a space where life is even worse than it could have been. And so until you can get people in power who have those same ideologies and actually fight and push legislation to make that happen, and not just in the United States, but it would have to be something globally too. Understand, even living in the United States, recognizing that all of these countries got all kind of beefs and everything with each other because it's a big competition of resources, a competition of wealth. When it comes to acquiring and snatching land and it's a bunch of nonsense. So even if you have this happy utopia of an America, then the rest of the world still got their problems. So then you still got to deal with that. And then coming back to the utopia of how do you deal with the problems of the world, that's how we'll start fighting some more. So yeah, utopia is great, but no, the utopia dies by the time kids turn 5. For children, it's a utopia for them until they start to see the world and you get older and the world starts to show you its reality. It's sad, it sucks, but that's where we're at. I would love for things to change. Because life doesn't have to be this difficult. It wasn't supposed to be. You know what I mean? But greed and racism and imperialism have made it that, sadly. And so again, everybody's collateral to that. And people have ideologies that are embedded and locked in because of their experience. And so everybody, again, has their guard up and has to deal with nonsense. Anyway, thank you. Who said Wisconsin? I just saw your comment. Look at what's going on with Wisconsin in that election they have for that Supreme Court, right? Again, watching the most extreme people get nominated to be on the bench. Imagine that, right? Goodness, we'll see how that goes. I haven't seen the results of what happened with that election yet. Yeah, y'all getting mad because folks want to sit here and keep their guard up. Somebody said the hate's coming from the other side. Yep, it ain't coming from us. Anything we got is just a response to what's already been happening. Black folks always been minding their business. We're not invested in all the other nonsense y'all be having going on. Y'all just pull us into it, right? So anyway. Dang, I'm never gonna get to my next topic. Y'all are not playing in these comments, huh? I agree, fair. We need to change the time span on how long they stay. I agree with term limits. I don't think people should be in office for. I don't agree with lifetime appointments for judges. I don't think for like Supreme Court. I don't agree with that. Like, no, I feel like you should have terms. And I think every 4 years or whatever, you got to either get reelected or something. And I say that because the world evolves, right? And when you look at who the representation is, when we talk about let me Google this real quick. I want to make sure I got the right thing here. Let me see. What's the average age of Congress real quick? And it's up there too. The average age of Congress is 58 years old. All right. Which is technically not that old, but 58 is it's a long way from people who are much younger. So you can't honestly tell me, and mind you, a lot of the folks in Congress are not 58. A lot of them are 70s, 80s, blah, 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 blah. But because there's finally some younger faces coming in there, so like, the politicians that are in their 20s and 30s is kind of balancing out that dynamic. But, you got politicians that are in their mid 80s. The world continues to evolve and continues to change. Even before you jump into the next generation, things are constantly changing. So when you have people who are lifelong, who have to, there's no accountability for what they do. They can do whatever they want. They're in a space where they kind of get locked and set into their own dimension, their own world of how they do things, and they're not budging on a lot of stuff. And as the world changes, they fight and claw to hold on to what was, right? And even if the people don't want it. So when we look at and I'm not trying to turn this into the whole Second Amendment argument, but even looking at the Second Amendment, right? Look at how chaotic things are in regards to how people fight and protect the Second Amendment. The definition of protecting the Second Amendment has changed and evolved so much thanks to the NRA and lobbyists and money, and right? And so now we've gone from a space where if you just went 20, 30 years ago, Americans were fine with the idea of common sense gun laws. Americans were fine with the idea of background checks and red flag laws, right? And then, you get the lobbyists in there, you get the NRA in there, you get the money talking, you get politicians that have been in office forever and a day and have nothing to lose, and people on benches that are lifetime appointed. Now all of a sudden, yeah, well, we can go ahead and I think the laws are fine. So yeah, you don't need the red flag laws and you don't need this, you don't need that. And then what happened? We get a school shooting in Nashville, right? And again, they would have violated all the red flag laws. But what happened in Tennessee? They decided to gut those laws and say no more red flag laws. Yeah, just give everybody a gun. Florida, you know, you don't need a permit. Give everybody one. You know, I think they're doing it in Georgia too. Everybody gets one. And then you want to talk about why the world is violent. But then you'll spend all day talking about crime in New York. Like, I can't. People are just stupid. Wisconsin did win the okay, good for Wisconsin. So that the loony person did not win. Amen for Wisconsin. Because listen, understand, Wisconsin is one of the reasons why Orange Man is not president now. Because when it came to that state Supreme Court vote, when it came to possibly overturning the results in Wisconsin, it was 4-3, right? One person flipped, who was expected to be on the other side, and it was supposed to be 4-3 on the other way. So understand, these elections they can be close, and all of these positions are vital. And I'm just now drinking my tea that is no longer hot. Shout out to Brent from the book club. He showed me this kind of thing. I'm gonna order. It's like $100 though, but it keeps your drink like super, super hot for like hours at a time. I haven't ordered mine yet because I had to pay rent. Rent was due today. All right, we got to move on, y'all. But I'm enjoying this comment section. Y'all are a lot of fun. Let me just read the comments for the super chats really quick, and then we'll keep going. Thank you, Wilson's 4. Thank you. You've got. I think it says you've got mail. Thank you. Okay, we got to keep going. Dang, man, I was trying to get to something happy. North Carolina A&T. I'm going to read the article first, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation, shall we? All right, so let me pull that up. All right, all my friends who are texting me, I promise I will text all y'all as soon as I'm done with the live. Okay, man arrested with over 1,000 rounds of ammo on North Carolina A&T's college campus last week. Okay, and where's the person who was talking about we are all the same and we believe the same and kumbaya? I need you to answer for this one, since we all are all just a human race, right? Let me read that title again. Man arrested with over 1,000 rounds of ammo on North Carolina A&T college campus last week. I understand North Carolina A&T is a historically black college. Police in Greensboro, North Carolina, arrested a 27-year-old man last week. They say brought several guns, around 1,000 rounds of ammunition, and numerous other weapons, including knives and a crossbow, onto the campus of State College, North Carolina A&T, and started threatening security guards in the latest troubling incident at a U.S. school or university. Also take note, this guy is 27. So when people keep saying all the racism stuff is going to die when all the racist old people die, no, it's already been embedded and it's been put into the next generation. All right, that's definitely a Gen Z person, or they're right on the cusp of Gen Z and millennial. Okay, that ain't nobody super, super old. All right, 27. All right. Brandon James Bentley was taken into custody on March 26 after chasing unarmed security guards on the campus and making threats to law enforcement. The Greensboro Police Department said in a statement on Monday. A search of Bentley's vehicle uncovered 2 handguns, 2 shotguns, a rifle, a crossbow, a machete, a stun gun, knives, choking devices, pepper spray, brass knuckles, and other weapons, according to police. Bentley was charged with multiple counts of possessing weapons and an explosive on educational property related to firecrackers found in his vehicle, along with carrying a concealed weapon, driving with a revoked license, and reckless driving. North Carolina A&T said in a statement to WX, it looks like IITV, that Bentley was spotted on campus around 4 a.m. on March 26, a Sunday, and no longer constituted an ongoing threat to campus safety. Police said Bentley made an initial court appearance on March 27th. A police spokesperson in the Guilford County Sheriff's Office did not state whether he entered a plea or bonded out of jail, though his name did not appear on the Guilford County Jail inmate roster on Monday. It is not immediately clear if Bentley has an attorney. Surprising fact. North Carolina A&T says it's the country's largest historically black college university with an enrollment of 13,487. What we don't know, police did not publicly identify a motive. He's white, by the way. News of Bentley's arrest comes amid renewed debate about access to guns in the U.S., along with mental health and school safety. Following a deadly shooting at a Christian elementary school in Nashville, authorities said 28-year-old Aubrey Held fired more than 150. Okay, this is about Nashville. I'm going to stick to. Are they saying anything else? Okay. I'll finish it. Let me see. What was that? Authorities said 28-year-old Audrey Held fired more than 150 rounds in a rampage last month, killing 3 adults and 3 9-year-olds before being gunned down by police. Democrats like President Joe Biden have again called for stricter gun control measures following the shooting, like an assault weapons ban, while Republicans have balked at the idea and have instead called for tougher security at schools, which I also think is stupid because at this point, if you look at something like that specific school in Nashville, they had security, they had locked doors, some of the teachers were armed, and you still saw what happened. That's not going to work, all right? Plus, again, arming teachers in a classroom, all it's going to take is one smart mouth kid to piss off a teacher, and we're going to keep seeing a whole bunch of hashtags with students that got taken out because the teacher didn't like what they had to say or they couldn't manage their class. That's not a good idea. If a teacher shoots a bullet off in a classroom, what's to say that the bullet is not going to go through the walls and hit another student in another room, especially if it's a school that's underfunded? And you know how they have those room dividers, and sometimes they'll do that to separate classrooms? Stupid idea. Anyway, let me finish my article. Let me focus here. The year is also off to a historically fast pace for mass shootings in general. As of Monday, there have been 136 mass shootings in the U.S., defined as events with 4 or more casualties. They've even redefined that because it used to be 3 or more. In 2023, according to the Gun Violence Archive, meanwhile, a string of historically Black colleges were forced to close their campuses last year due to bomb threats, which we talked about. Remember, Howard was getting threats. I think Bowie State was getting stuff, like all these different places. We're getting all of these different threats. But going back to my point, this is what I'm talking about when I say Black people always have to have their guard up, because when we move around as if everything is a utopia and all is well, look what happens. You got a man coming onto a campus and there was no security that was armed to take him out while he's on there with guns and machetes and switchblades and freaking explosives and everything else, right? And I said this on the last live. I said before, when certain groups, specifically white America in this conversation, start to feel threatened, they always move and attack 3 things. They always go after policy. And they show up at the polls and do what they need to do. They make sure they put in people who are chaotic into positions that can be cemented. They go after education. So we see what's happening with them trying to change the laws and the rules. I saw one, what is it? I think it's probably Florida, where, again, the Ruby Bridges movie is now banned. They can't even show that in the classroom. They were playing the movie. One parent complained and said, no, that's going to be too wild. It's going to make my child grow up to think that white people are bad and that they hated Black people. And so they had to pull that movie out, right? And so they always go after education. And the other thing is always violence, right? If they can't get it through policy, they can't get it through attacking education and hoping that it changes the different generations over time, then violence is the next option. And so with this guy, he was like, hey, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to go after the educational, space and be violent. And that's what we're talking about. And it's crazy because, again, Black folks, we just be minding our business. We don't be bothering nobody. We be in our own world, doing our own thing, having our own time. And here folks come, always ready to come and tear something down. They tell us, pull ourselves up by the bootstrap, go and build your neighborhoods, be a model citizen. We go and do all that crap. And they come and do what? Burn everything down. You know what I mean? And if we get something and they think that we don't deserve it or we're not supposed to have it or they feel it's something they were supposed to have, then they have no problem stripping it away. Goes back to Abby Fisher, who sat there and sued the University of Texas because she didn't get in and just swore that she didn't get in because there must have been some Black folks that got in there through affirmative action. Where's that article? I always reference that one too because she can catch some smoke as well. Abby, where you at, woman? I don't even want to read the whole thing. I'll just read it. Here we go. Remember, this was 2008. He points out that when Fisher applied to University of Texas, 168 African-American and Latino students who had higher grades than her were denied access, while some white students with lower grades were admitted. This has been a key point in public discussion of the case. Becky with the bad grades is one of the more publishable epithets thrown her way by critics who just see a young woman suffering from a bad case of white privilege. I try not to read any articles. I don't really care what people have to say about me in the comments, she says. I'm proud of the grades that I made. I worked very hard for them, as if the other people didn't work hard as well, but she feels that she worked harder, so she deserves to be where she's at. So she has no problem taking something to the Supreme Court and letting everybody be collateral so that she can get her way at the expense of everybody else, right? The day she first received her rejection letter from University of Texas, Fisher picked up the phone and called Edward Blum. Look, the fact that they already got connections that quick. Oh, I didn't get in. I'm about to call somebody. We're going to make some changes around here. A friend of her father's, Blum had spent years looking for a plaintiff to take on affirmative action. See, they be camped out worried about us. Blum had spent several years looking for a plaintiff to take on affirmative action. So he's just been sitting there waiting this whole time. Didn't even have any bait, any evidence, but he already just felt some kind of way and said, as soon as I can find somebody that can fit my narrative, it's on and popping. And as soon as Amy didn't get in, she said, hey, it's on and popping. Let's get it. All right. He brought the case and a couple of dozen others, he believes. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. He brought this case and a couple of dozen others because he believes the courts, and particularly the Supreme Court, is the best place to achieve policy victories. Like I said, education, policy, and violence. Those be the 3 things they be after every single time. And then what makes it bad, Amy didn't even have the grades. And the reason she was pissed off is because they had this threshold where, okay, if you were within the top 10% of your class, you automatically got into the university. That's how 80% of the university students get into that school. She missed the top 10. She barely made. She had a 3.59. So she didn't have the qualifications to be in the top 10% of her class. So she already didn't meet the requirement. So she was pissed because she felt that she was still entitled to guaranteed admission, and she didn't. Because she did not make that threshold, she got put in the pool with everybody else that did not get guaranteed admission, and she was judged accordingly amongst the other peers that she had, and she still was mad and was like, oh, well, I know these niggas ain't coming in here before me. So we're going to shut all this down. So, that's how it be around these parts. So again, like I said, anytime we're enjoying ourselves, here y'all come, doing some nonsense. If it ain't that, it's a noise ordinance. All of a sudden, I told y'all that story a million times. Me and my godmom, we love to just chop it up in her neighborhood. Like, she's one of the last few original residents on her street, and she ain't budging. Her house is paid for. She ain't going nowhere, right? And so we always like to sit in the backyard, and we'll get like the blue crab and get like a nice Heineken, put the little bowl speakers out, and just crank like some Maze and Frankie Beverly. Be out there chilling, having a good time. And one day, this lady with some khaki shorts came out there, just hey, we're just letting you guys know, we're gonna be implementing quiet hours soon. Quiet hour? What are you talking about? Quiet? What? When did y'all do that? Oh, well, the neighborhood committee came up with it. We're like, what neighborhood committee? All the new people that moved in created a whole committee, went to the city, got the whatever they did, signed off, and now there's quiet hours on the street. I said, you see how y'all be doing? Pressed. Make it make sense. Same thing with the clubs back in the day. I saw this interesting post where people were talking about like, when people used to go to the club in like the early 2000s up till about 2008, where you still had, and they were like, y'all were in there wearing like blazers and button downs and stuff in the club. Y'all weren't hot. And I'm like, listen, them clubs had dress codes, right? And a lot of them codes, specifically, it was a way to keep certain groups out. You see those signs: no do-rags, no sweatpants, no sneakers, no Jordans, no this, no that, no chains, no elaborate jewelry. I'm like, here y'all go. I was like, Lord, right? So understand, even that is rooted in some things. Who's this over here talking trash? Listen, I don't even know what language. Oh, what's up? Who's this? You don't have a full name, sir. Whatever. And somebody telling me I suck, but that's fine. But you still in here. Anyway, so understand, like, yeah, the anti-blackness isn't everything. We just can't win. We be minding our business, chilling. Somebody still got a problem with something. I'm going to read some comments, and then I'm going to come back because I definitely want to get into everything in regards to this conversation around class. Like, that is a mess. All right. Where was I at? Why is this thing clicking? Okay. Let me read a few comments. All right. This person's doing too much. Let me just go ahead and move you on up out of here. You got to go. Anyway, so let's see where we're at. Yeah, y'all mad tonight. Y'all be all right. Y'all still up in here, so it still just goes to my revenue. Thank you very much. I'm about to buy me a new MacBook. All right. Okay, Don Worthy says Amazon has a coffee warmer that's way cheaper. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Oh, look at y'all. Look at y'all giving me some shopping advice. Wonderful. Wonderful. Farrah says, I think the laws for guns, they think there's a motive is to get rid of us. I don't even think it's necessarily that. I just understand that money talks. And so, like, if you can have lobbyists get into the pockets of politicians, a whole lot of people make money. The lobbyists make money for what they're fighting for. Politicians get paid off. The gun companies make millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions. And so if you can paint this narrative of latching on to the Second Amendment, and by the way, I'm not anti-gun. Like, I came from a gun-carrying family. My mama is loaded. Play with her if you want to. But I don't agree with the idea of people walking around with AR-15s, and I don't agree with the idea of people who have all kind of other issues going on mentally, or they have a past of doing other things, just being able to go and just get whatever they want to. I don't like the idea of guns being able to just be in random environments. And there's just so many things that have been added on. Like, the gun policy in this country is a lot more extreme as far as how loose it is compared to like 20, 30 years ago. And we're seeing the end result of that happening, where you're seeing a whole lot more mass shootings. It's almost normal now. We don't even budge anymore. Like, think about when Columbine happened. That was on the news for like 2 weeks straight. It was almost the end of the world around here. You get a Columbine every day now. It's not even breaking news. They got to spend all day talking about Trump getting arrested. So, that's where we're at now. Let me see. Exactly. Y'all are saying y'all didn't even hear about what happened in North Carolina. It goes back to what I was saying on the last live, where our news media cycle is just politics all day and Trump. They recognize talking about Trump all day brings ratings. Like, understand, these news media companies had the highest ratings they've ever had between about 2015, when he announced that he ran, till about 2022. All right. Ratings through the roof. So they're always going to talk about him because it just brings it brings the attention that, that he wants, but it also brings the ratings. People are intrigued. Again, he goes against the grain. He's not really what you call a traditional politician. He always got something crazy going. So it's ratings gold, even for the networks that don't even like him. They are going to look at the money before they look at the integrity. And so that's where we're at. That's why all the networks are starting to move closer or further and further to the right. That's why you're starting to see people who aren't even really qualified to be journalists hosting shows, and they're putting all kind of people out there to just be on different platforms. Bunch of stupidness. When I found out Sean Spicer had a show, I said, the man that went up there and lied to America that entire time, like, that's how America moves. You can sit here and lie to the whole country and just say some BS all day, and then you get a gig on Dancing with the Stars, and then the next opportunity comes. Or you go on The Masked Singer, Rudy Giuliani. Like, stupid. Anyway. All right. Yeah, they tried it as far as talking about they didn't know what the motive was for the guy that went to North Carolina A&T. That guy specifically picked out a historically black college and loaded up. He had everything loaded, car full of stuff. He was planning to get everybody. And y'all sit here acting like we don't know what the motive was. That goes back to what we were talking about with the guy from Mississippi that they found with the head severed. Oh, they didn't know if there was any foul play included. What was his? I gotta make sure I got his name right. Let me pay some respect here. Let me just make sure I said it right. Rasheem Carter from Mississippi. They don't suspect any foul play. Okay, somebody just whole head severed off. They just went to sleep and the head fell off. Okay, play stupid if y'all want to. All right. Somebody said camped out. Exactly, camped out and everything we got going. Camp the F out. Okay. All right, I got a whole bunch of folks up in here. All right. Anyway, we're gonna keep it moving. I know y'all keep saying we need more mods. Listen, if y'all want to be a mod, go ahead, let me know. I add you on here, but I don't really worry about the folks that are on here doing too much. It is what it is. They be on here pressed, and it's funny because the ones who disagree with everything I say be camped out on every video, and if they don't come on video, then they find me on social media and say, "And another thing I want to tell you." It's not making me change how I feel on any of this. Like nothing is budging around here. It ain't changing over here. I said what I said. Anyway, let's jump into this entire LSU, Iowa, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. First of all, so as we know, it's been March Madness, right? You have the men's division, you have the women's division. And so it got down to the top two, right? It's Iowa and it is LSU. Now you have Caitlin Clark, who's an exceptionally great basketball player. She's been killing it, right? And so she also likes to talk her trash because that's what happens in sports, right? You know what I mean? Like you win, you boast, you brag, you do whatever. And so she like to do this thing, nobody can see me type thing. They even marketed March Madness with her in it. They had a whole promotional ad and everything with her, talking that trash and everything. And so they play LSU, right? And LSU has a good game. I also love the story about the woman with the orange hair who she had never even got to really play, but they pulled her off the bench because somebody got fouled out too much, and then she scored 21 points. I said, see what happens when you give opportunity, folks be cleaning up, right? They played no game. So anyway, LSU wins, right? Angel Reese comes in there and cleans house on everybody, right? And so there's the footage of Angel Reese at the end of the game after they have won this thing, walking past Caitlin Clark. She's, what's that? Can't nobody touch me. What's that? What was you saying earlier? Same energy, right? Just passing it around because that's how they do in sports. But of course, everybody wanted to lose their stuff, and all of a sudden, we have to really pay attention to what's happening in the sports because that was classless. Poor example of sportsmanship. All of a sudden, now the goal post has been moved so far over. So they had spent all week trying to light up Angel Reese and say that she is just a bad example of an athlete and she needs to think about how it would feel to lose by like 15 points and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, first of all, white America, y'all can't tell us anything about class ever. I don't want to hear it. Not after January 6th. Not after slavery, not after Jim Crow. And just no. And to be honest, if y'all had the power, y'all put Trump right back in office. So I don't want to hear anything about class. Like, cut the crap, because y'all are not the example of any kind of class. Sorry, that's how I feel. Like, we're not doing that. So when they sit here and always like to pretend that all of a sudden they are the epitome of grace and class and how to conduct themselves, y'all can cut the crap. Because as soon as we go to a hockey game, y'all be out there wrecking. And hockey is funny because the refs can't even break up the fights because it's too dangerous because of the blades. And so hockey, it's almost a thing to go out there and start fighting. Like, they'd be out there just with a stick ready. Don't even know what a puck is, looking for somebody that they got beef with from a game that they had 6 weeks ago. They still mad about a game from February, and they can't wait to get on the ice and get out there and start wrecking and swinging on everybody. And all of that is celebrated. That's fun. That's the American way. Baseball, the pitcher throws a pitch and he hits the batter on accident. The batter slams the bat down. And then they run over to the thing, and then the whole dugout clears, and all of them are on the American way, America's pastime, right? Now all of a sudden, Angel Reese does this. Now we classless, tasteless. Oh, we need to make some changes around these parts. Out of control. Like, get out of here. Like, oh, I mean, even when Sarah Palin was running, that was like what she ran on. What's the difference between a pit bull and a hockey mom? Lipstick. And the whole crowd, yeah, America, yeah. So I don't want to hear that shit. Like, y'all be so full of crap. I'm sorry for cussing, but man, y'all be on some BS sometimes. And so it's like the goalpost gets moved so much. And I just find it so funny because, like I said, Caitlyn was just being praised a few days earlier for doing the exact same thing. All kind of commentators were like, yeah, she's just so cutthroat. Yeah, she's about it. She's about it. Now, I'll give some grace to Caitlyn because Caitlyn even said, yeah, y'all are doing too much. What she did is just what we do in sports. She respects Angel Reese, whatever, so on and so forth. She was like, don't paint me to be a victim. I'm good. But America's still going to paint her to be a victim in that because, again, even with her, as far as Caitlyn kind of being like the tough athlete, she will always get the grace to be allowed to be soft because she's a white girl. That's what they're always going to do. And so, you know what I mean? And so when you talk about black women, you have this team that's majority black beating a group of white girls. And mind you, the white girls was supposed to be the winner. They were not the underdog. It was the black girls. So all of a sudden the white team loses to the black girls, and the black girls are feeling themselves and celebrating, and now it's a problem, right? And it just goes to show the difference because, again, when it comes to black athletes, I've already said people already think they own black athletes anyway. Because, again, when we talk about the idea of prosperity, and this is kind of coming out of the college sports conversation and more so professional, recognize when we talk about race in this country, when we talk about the systemic issues that exist and why we have these issues in the wealth gap, a lot of times people who want you to shut up about it always bring up three kind of people, right? They bring up Hollywood stars that are black that are successful. They bring up entertainers as far as a Beyonce or somebody that sings and makes millions of dollars, dancing on stage, or they bring up athletes. It's those three they always bring up to say, well, LeBron James did it. Why can't you do it? Or, I don't know, Michael Jackson was able to do this. Why can't you do it? Or Angela Bassett could do it. Why can't you do it? And it's like, wow. So for me to get any element of decency or respect or just to have a fair shot in this world, I either have to be one of the best actors on television, I have to be one of the best athletes in the world, or I have to be one of the best entertainers in the world in order to get the bare minimum, to just get some decency and some the same respect that everybody else gets. Like, that's the way that folks move. And the other thing about it is people treat those three professions as if it was given to them by white America, like white America made them. And so it's almost like they feel that they own them. So when black entertainers get a little too black, that's when you see the backlash, right? So when you saw what happened with the NFL or taking the knee or whatever, then all of a sudden it's get them sons of bees off the field and something. They don't know what they do. Take everything away from them. They shouldn't be kneeling. And then all of a sudden they care about the troops. That's disrespectful to the troops. Well, we need to stop sending the troops overseas to go fight and shoot for a bunch of nonsense that ain't got nothing to do with our freedoms anyway. Can we be honest? And at the same time, I don't see y'all voting and fighting to make sure that there's legislation to make sure that these VAs are properly funded and that veterans that come back to say will receive the kind of benefits that they should get. There's not even an equal playing field with reserves and active duty. Not to go into the business of the military, but understand when you are in the reserves. And so let's say I join the reserves. I have my regular career, but I join the reserves. I'm like, I love this country so much. I'm going to take a bullet for it, right here. So, I sign up for the reserves. I get sent to, I don't know what war we're going to be in the near future. Hopefully nothing, but let's say we're into something. I go, they ship me off to wherever. I come back because I done got shot 5 times. And because I was in the reserves, I don't even get the same healthcare benefits that somebody who was active duty gets, even though we got shot by the same bullets. Okay, that's our politics. That's the patriotism that we have for the troops. So I don't want to hear it. But anyway, going back to my point, they love to push this narrative like they own the success of black people who make it and become those anomalies. So black folks who become everything. And that's why when black folks mess up who are in these high positions, it's so easy to take them down so quickly. Look at how Will Smith, they got him out of there quick. Okay, he was beloved. They loved him some Will Smith. As soon as that happened, not only did they pretty much end him, but then all of a sudden everybody was scared of him. All of these different actresses and actors. I was so scared. A whole year later, folks still talking to me. I couldn't sleep at night. I was so scared. I was so afraid. I was so scared. I'm like, y'all, okay, whatever. Listen, Okay, you know what I mean? So understand when black entertainers, athletes slip up or do something that pisses off white America tries to finish and end them. Because again, those are the few elements where there's an element of control, where they can control the success or what it is that somebody has. And so they do that with black athletes all the time. And so when black athletes or entertainers go against the grain and are their unapologetic selves, it stirs up a bunch of controversy and white America hates it. And then they paint those people to be public enemy number one. They cannot freaking stand it. And it's so, I don't know. It kills me. So again, with Caitlyn and Angel, they decided to make Caitlyn just so frail and so innocent. They tried to paint it as if Caitlyn was in the locker room crying because Angel did this to her. It's kind of like, this is so unrelated, but it's kind of like that Flavor of Love episode from season 2 when Safari and I don't even know the girl's name. The white girl got in a fight over the bed because the white girl threw the flowers at her, and then Safari and just and then they're having a conversation. And the white girl was like, but I'm white, I'm frail, and you're from Crenshaw. And the Safari was like, well, if you so white and frail, what you hitting me for? Like, see what I mean? Like, they just, I can't do it with y'all. Like, nah, man. And so it's just, it's interesting because, again, they don't give the same grace to black athletes, especially black women. Like, look at how they always did Serena Williams. If Caitlyn would have cried after Angel did this crap to her, Caitlyn would have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated tomorrow. She would have had a movie deal on Lifetime. They would have gave her a documentary. She would have had the key to the city. She would have had a statue, a street named after her somewhere in Wichita, Kansas, all kind of stuff. Same thing happens with Serena crying because she's frustrated. They say she's emotional. She's immature. She's a bad sport. Like, black women do not get the grace in any of these fields, especially when it comes to sports. And because black women tend to be athletic, they don't get the luxury of having that idea of being what you call virtuous or soft or feminine. All of a sudden, they're beast-like. So when they respond to a white woman who is in the exact same field with the same athleticism, well, maybe not the same athleticism, but she's still up there. She's still good. All of a sudden, they can see the grace in the white athlete. They can't see it in the black one. All of a sudden, we're the aggressor, we're the monsters. And so everybody was trying to light Angel up. And I'm so glad Angel went up there and said, well, I don't care. I'm from Baltimore. This is how we do. Y'all ain't about to paint me to be nothing crazy. This is how we do in sports, which is true. In sports, you talk trash, all right? You score a touchdown, what you do? You do a little dance. You know what I mean? If you hit a grand slam in baseball, or you hit a home run, once it goes over that line and you know you don't have to run anymore, you kind of truck to them bases. You know what I mean? So I don't want to hear this crap about grace and class. Y'all be on some BS every single time. Man, so again, when it comes to black athletes, they want you to behave. They want you to play your part. Don't have an opinion on anything. Just shut up and dribble. That's how they always move us. And so I'm just like, nope, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so again, when they hate confidence and they hate when we're feeling ourselves. And so that leads me to Jill Biden, which made me so mad. Jill don't even be pissing me off like that because she don't ever really say too much. So she's almost been all right with me this whole time. Then I was like, Jill, really? So, they're having a nice press conference and everything, talking about the game and everything like that. And, Jill decided, well, you know what? I think we should invite both teams to the White House. Let's bring them both. And, the approach, actually, let me find what her assistant said as the reasoning for this. I don't know if I saved it, but I'll find it real quick. Just to kind of make sure this is all put into context. 1 second. Jill Biden. Boom, boom, boom. Do we got it? Y'all want to give me everything but what I asked for. See how y'all be doing? This is not what I want. Anyway, long story short, it was some speech about celebrating the achievements of women in sports, especially since the passing of Title IX and this other stuff. And so that was what the assistant said Jill's intentions were. Like, just bring everybody there. We can just celebrate womanhood and all this other stuff. And as nice as that is, if that's the move that you were going to do, that should have already been something that was announced even before they got to March Madness. It should have been announced before it even got to, like, hey, this time we're going to do something different. We're going to take both teams and they're going to go and, but no. So it doesn't look right with the optics, especially, and I was watching Shannon Sharp talk about this, where he was saying, since about 1869, there has never been a situation where, somebody that lost any kind of major sporting event got to come to the White House with the winner. It was always the winner, and that's just what it was. That's how it's always been. And so, if that's what you wanted to do, then you also need to read the room and pay attention to the optics. You see white America clearly tearing up this black team, right? Calling them classless and blah, 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 blah. Here's the white team that everybody wanted to win. They lost. And now all of a sudden, now you want to bring everybody together. Let's celebrate. I'm like, this is just like when you have those schools where there's the black kid that's the valedictorian and the white parent complains. And so the school has 4 valedictorians that year because, the white kid's great, just a little bit under the black kids. But, oh, no, my child worked hard. My child is a special, special child. And so the special, special child gets the special, special treatment at the expense of this not so special black student that had the higher grades. Like, That's the same thing. So I was like, Jill, no. And my question is, if it were the other way around, would we be having this conversation? If Iowa would have won that crap and Caitlin to Angel's face, would you have been invited to LSU over there? I don't think so, to be honest, because again, you didn't do it last year. And if we want to really go there, like you were second lady from what, 09 to 2016. I don't ever remember you saying during none of those years, hey, Joe, can you tell Barack to bring both teams? Or, even if they don't come to the White House, they can come to our house. We can have a good time. No. So I'm like, Jill, I'm good on that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like sometimes like I said, if you're going to do the ideal of inviting everybody because everybody's a winner and you want to highlight the advances in women's sports, then really what you should do is push for Joe or whoever to put some legislation so that there's an equal playing field when it comes to advertisers on these sporting, events for women so that they can actually get higher salaries. So you don't have to have somebody like a Brittany Griner go to Russia and get snatched up. You know what I mean? Like that would be probably a bit more effective than dinner at the White House. And so, yeah, like I said, Iowa gets sympathy at this moment because of what happened. But it's just like, and the thing is, I recognize that she doesn't mean harm, but understand that even when we talk about conversations of whiteness, even when they don't mean harm, look at how they still do damage. They think they're doing something good, and it still comes at the expense of somebody else. And that happens when you don't see the world through a lens outside of yours. You can only see it through your own spectrum, and you think you're doing a good deed, and you don't realize how effed up it is. It's kind of like when people go overseas to I don't know, some country in Africa or a country in South America because they're on a mission trip. And what do? They make sure they get all the kids that they just gave some grits to get a big old picture and all this to get the picture, and then they post that on their social media, and they make that like the profile on their dating profile on Tinder or what is everybody use, or Hinge or whatever they use, or on Facebook or everything, just to so show that I'm a good person. Look at me touching these people that aren't very clean today. We gave them a bath. Look at all the great things I've done. And so it's all about self-gratification. So I'm good on that. And it just kind of shows like, man, people don't even realize how they move. Because when you don't have to think about the experience of other people, it's not even something that even comes through your mind. You don't even see it that way. That's where privilege kicks in, because you don't even have to think about the experience of other people. So, and for me, listen, I'm not even the biggest sports person. I don't really care about sports like that. I don't even care about dinner at the White House. To me, that ain't nothing special. Well, I've been to dinner at the White House before, but that was like when a president was in there that I actually liked. But even with that being said, because I already have certain viewpoints about what the White House and Congress and all that represent globally, I'm just like, I'm good on all of that. But understand, at least in that moment, in the same way that traditionally every team that wins gets to go and have their moment and get to shake hands and laugh and everything, LSU was supposed to be given that. They weren't supposed to have to share that with somebody else. If you love what they all did, hey, maybe you put together some other event and you bring everybody. But that was for them. What was for them was for them. You try to give it to somebody else. And now she walked it all back and changed her mind. But I just think that's some BS. It's some BS. And they always do this thing where they talk soft too when they're doing some BS. It's kind of like Paula White. Remember Paula White? That was the televangelist, the TV preacher lady, right? Built a whole career off of climbing through the ranks of the black church and building these massive crowds. And then as soon as Cuckoo Man ran for office, she decided to be his spiritual advisor. And so she latches on to all that anti-blackness and everything. And people start lighting her up like, wait a minute, what are you doing over there with him? And she, oh, well, what we believe in the Bible is, God is just, I'm like, don't start doing all that soft talking with me while you in there collecting the hard checks. Y'all just think we stupid around here. Like, man, that was Miss African Angels. Remember when the election wasn't going the way she wanted to go? The African Angels are coming. I was like, dang, they still got segregation in heaven too, huh? The African Angels are coming. I said, well, let the African Angels take care of home, because all right, y'all are just snatching all the resources. You already got American Angels. You're going to snatch the African ones too. Now Africa ain't got no angels because you done took them all because your boy didn't get in office. Make it make sense. Anyway, let me read some comments. There's a few other topics I need to cover. And I'm going to go from the dome on the rest of these. Let us see here. All right. Oh, Jill, why? Jill was all right with me because she wasn't never doing too much, but dang. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see. That's not the right one. All right. Anyway, I still got to talk about Xscape. Y'all are working Alan overtime with this moderating. All right. I'll add some new moderators. My bad, y'all. So, all right. Anyway, where are we? Somebody said, welcome to the block party. Said Calvin should close his chat to subscribers. Oh no, I like the chat to be open. I mean, listen, I ain't afraid of an argument. Ain't nobody gonna punk me on my own channel. Like, listen, I've been doing this for like a decade. There's nothing you can say that's gonna get under my skin. I got smoke for anybody who got smoke for me. It's how it's always been. Anyway, and again, a lot of times people know that you're right, and so the only thing that they can do, because they can never really refute anything you're saying, they'll come out with like the name calling or say something else crazy, because that's it. I'm not about to sit here and argue with some random Joe that's in their basement right now, pissed off because I'm pissing them off. They'll be all right. Anyway, somebody said, who's still watching those trash news channels? I don't really watch the news as much. You know, if there is one news channel I will watch Democracy Now! I think they do a pretty good job of really just sticking to the facts and not putting too much opinion in everything. So I kind of F with that. All right. Sam J said it's the 55th anniversary of Martin Luther King passing. Yeah, and look how white people are acting in my chat. Content of the character, huh? Y'all showing that character tonight. Anyway, yeah. All right, okay. There's a few other stories I want to get to. Let me read a few more comments. Yes, somebody said they all jumped on her. They certainly did. They were not having it with Angel Reese. I'm like, how y'all gonna get mad because she happy she won? I'm like, y'all let Caitlyn talk trash all season. And the one time she gets back, what she put out now is too much. That's why I was happy y'all got Keith Olbermann out of here too. And I told y'all sometimes when it comes to like even like people that identify as liberal and everything, keep an eye on a lot of them too, because they look how that anti-blackness came right out. He didn't even know what had happened. He backtracked as well and started to apologize. Oh, I didn't know the context of what happened. But it's so crazy how quickly you were quick to run out here and talk about how classless we were just because somebody won a game and celebrated. Cut the crap. Cut the crap, cut the crap. Yeah, it's hard for me to just be seeing a whole bunch of nonsense go down. It'd be pissing me off. Thank you, Ms. Lee 333. Let's see. Oh, thank you for sharing this. I am Diva Nicole. I was active duty and can't get the help I need. My body is so jacked, shouldn't even be working, but have to and spend days recovering with aches and pains and swelling. Like, man, they be oof. They just do folks so wrong. That's why, like I said, I'm not a fan of war and people having to go across the country and kill folks that they don't even know. But I'm also not, and we've talked about this before. I said this, and I hope I'm not offending folks, but a lot of people join the military because it's a financial escape from whatever hardship they've already been in, or it's an opportunity to climb up financially. It's an opportunity to also see the world. It's an opportunity to get to meet folks all around the world. But the sad part with it is, on the other side of that conversation is the combat, the injuries, the psychological damage it is watching your friends get blown into pieces. And then at the same time, like I've said, at least since the Revolutionary War, there has not been a single war that we have jumped into that had anything to do with our freedoms. Not a single one. When I had the Civil War, that was all in regard to slavery. Now it's really in regard to the North and the South having a whole bunch of beef. That wasn't about anybody coming outside of the United States and trying to take it over. That was some internal fighting. And so you had Civil War. War of 1812 ain't had nothing to do with our freedom. The Korean War had nothing to do with our freedom. World War I, I don't even know why we jumped into that, had nothing to do with our freedom. World War II had nothing to do with our freedom. Vietnam, we pretty much set up Vietnam and had that incident, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, on purpose to kind of stir up something. And then you see the nonsense that happened in regards to what Nixon and his team did by working to extend the war so that he would have more of a political gain when he ran for election that next time. So Vietnam was not about our freedom. All right. Desert Storm was not about our freedom. Desert Shield was not about our freedom. Operation Enduring Iraqi Freedom was not about our freedom. Like going into Bosnia and blowing up Bosnia was not about our freedom. Going up and blowing up Yugoslavia was not about our freedom. Going and killing folks over there in Panama was not about our freedom. Doing what we did in Argentina, having a whole coup and taking out their government was not about our freedom. I could be here all day about what's not about our freedom. And so you send all of these kids and people who are trying to better themselves and build a future for themselves out there to get blown up. And when they get back, they don't even get the decency to have decent health care. And when we talk about black troops back in the day, you get shot up in World War II and you don't even get to be a part of the GI Bill. You don't even get no opportunities for housing with the FHA program. You don't get any of that until almost the 1980s. Y'all want to talk about freedom, and then y'all get pissed because people don't want to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance or sing the national anthem. Get out of my face. So look, as Marty said, second place is the number one loser. I'm like, dang, y'all cold too. Now I will say, when I work with the kids, I be trying to, I make sure the kids understand, like, listen, there are winners and losers in this game, but the people who lost, you did a great job, and if you keep at it, maybe we'll win next time. I always try to, because kids are different. These are kids, but these are grown adults we're talking about in this. So these are folks that have played all over the country, have played at all kinds of schools. A lot of these kids were in the AU leagues and stuff when they were in middle and high school, and they have experience playing against everybody. So I promise you, they're gonna be okay by lose. If they lost the tournament, I promise you they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be just fine because they're built for it. So I'm like, y'all trying to give all this sympathy all of a sudden. Like, all right, okay. Think about like Nancy Kerrigan. Remember Nancy Kerrigan? When Tanya Harding's boyfriend whacked her in the leg and she almost could look how Nancy was determined to get back to them Olympics, right? Whole leg busted up, like quack, right? She laid out crying and everything. She went through that therapy and pressed through it and still found her way to the Olympics and got second place. Athletes know what they good. They all right. They're gonna be all right physically, at least until they're about 35. Then Mother Nature kicks in and Father Time kicks in, them joints and stuff start aching. All right. All right. Oh, yes, I got some vets in here. Yes, please back me in what I'm saying. I ain't crazy. Um, I did see that, S. Marty, about the North Carolina lawmaker who switched to Republican so that they'd have a super majority. Like, that's the other thing too in these politics. Like, so it's so dirty, right? Because even like you're getting all these people who run as one thing just to get in there, and then they switch up, and it's another way. It goes back to what we were talking about when they cement, what it is they're trying to do. She was never a Democrat to begin with, and said, "Okay, yeah, I'm down with y'all, sure," and got in there and switched over. Same with cinema, and so just listen, they got all kind of nonsense going on here. And so, like I said, the smoke that I have for Democrats when it comes to them just not having any oomph to them does not give a pass to Republicans to continue to do the nonsense that they do. Like, absolutely not. I think sometimes people think I'm both siding the argument. It ain't no both sides with me. This is what you're doing, and this is what you're doing wrong. They're not equatable, because what you're doing, I got smoke for forever and a day. What you're doing, I just want you to do freaking better if you're going to claim to represent me. Otherwise, stop trying to latch onto my coattails and just be about what you really are about. Stop wasting my time so I can find somebody else to do what I need to get done. That's how I see it. But let me see. Mods, make sure y'all send me y'all cash apps later on via email, please. Anyway, yes, Korean conflict wasn't either. You are correct. Yes. None of these were about our freedom. It's just, again, it's world leaders fighting about resources and imperialism and all the other crap, and the people are collateral every time. I love that African proverb where they say when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Elephants doing all this wrecking, and what's getting stumped down? The grass, right? And kicked up and pulled up by the roots, right? It's the same thing with all these governments. So when they keep talking about all this, oh, China and oh, Russia, we got to fight with North Korea. We don't got to fight with none of these people. That's all the world leaders beefing about, the stuff that they're beefing about. That ain't got nothing to do with us. That ain't got nothing to do with the people that live in those countries. And so you're brought up to have beef with folks you don't even know. Think about even when you hear politicians bring up something like China. And I'm not giving passes to any of these countries, but like, think about anytime you see a news journalist or politician talk about China, they always say communist China. Enforcing the idea that China is not a capitalist country, making sure to put that in there so we remember, because again, it goes to that idea of kind of putting in the scare tactics and fear mongering, making sure that you see other people as the bad guy. That's how the United States has always operated. The United States is the good guys, everybody else is the bad guys. So yeah, we're so good that when we blow up countries, we rebuild them. And that's the narrative that we put out there. Not saying that more so, no, we rebuild things that work in U.S. interests. So yeah, we went over here and blew up everything, and now Afghanistan and Iraq got KFC. So like, my goodness. Kia said, "Vet here, you better preach." And listen, this is not me ragging on the troops. I have no beef with the troops. Like, listen, I respect folks that are willing to go and take a bullet for this country. I respect folks who are willing to try to fight and protect what they believe is for the collective and the common good. But the way that people in the military get treated is BS. So when folks like to hide their racism behind the idea of patriotism and the troops, I just don't want to hear it, because we see the double standard and we see the nonsense. Like, get out of here. And then, especially when Vietnam ended, the way y'all was, okay, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Anyway. Okay. I am going to shift gears because we done cussed out everybody all night. Let me see here. What else did I want to talk about? There's a bunch of nonsense still going on. I talked about it in the Trump video, but I saw, let me just make sure I got this right. I just want to make sure I have the right state. Missouri. All right, so you have, whatchamacallit, I'm going to read the article really quick. Missouri Republicans are one step closer to defunding public libraries. Librarians are worried a retaliatory move from state Republicans would require some some libraries to curtail services or close their doors. While negotiating the state budget last week, Missouri House Republicans voted to defund all of the state's public libraries as a proposal moves to the Missouri Senate. Public librarians are worried about how the draconian move would hurt communities they serve. The attempt to completely defund public libraries actually began with Senate Bill 775 legislation that was intended to provide more rights to sexual assault survivors. See how far the needle moves. Now, again, intended to provide more rights to sexual assault survivors, and somehow that then tied into the libraries. You know, they're gonna find a way to get rid of stuff up in here. Republican State Senator Rick Bratton hijacked the bill and included an amendment that banned educators from providing sexually explicit material to students. Like many similar proposals, the wording was broad and unclear. The bill became law, and just a few months later, conservative parents began using it to target books with LGBTQ themes, smearing books about gender or sexual identity as pornography. The new law has led to 300 books being removed from schools across the state between last August and November, according to PEN America. In February, the ALCU of Missouri, the Missouri Association of School Librarians, and the Missouri Librarian Association filed a lawsuit against the state, arguing that the ban violated the First Amendment. Republicans decided to retaliate against MLA, a nonprofit organization of professional librarians, for joining the lawsuit. Their proposal cut $4.5 million allocated to public libraries each year. I don't think we should subsidize that effort, Republican House Budget Chair Cody Smith said. We're going to take out the funding, and that is why. But neither professional organizations named as plaintiffs in the lawsuit receive state aid, which goes directly to the libraries, and the ACLU of Missouri is paying for the lawsuit. So just remember what I said. And mind you, it's deeper than just the conversation of sexuality. Race plays a huge role in all of that as well. So again, when I said earlier, the main three ways people go after everything: policy, education, and violence. And so defunding libraries, now mind you, libraries still make additional money and everything, but again, defunding public libraries, again, that's kind of an attack on what education through policy, right? And so you just see the foolery that exists. Now, libraries have always served as a resourceful place for information, a place where people can use the internet, a place where people can listen to music, where they can rent movies, where they can do books, where they can do all of these different things, where authors do all kind of things happen at the library. It's a great resourceful place. And so the fact that people's politics are so chaotic, because I talked about this before as well, where people let their politics become their identity and then they move in that realm, where now at this point, anything goes, because the bar is so low and the threshold of chaos has gotten so high that at this point, we're going to keep seeing more and more like out-of-pocket laws that exist just because, you know, these people can do whatever they want to do at the expense of everybody else. Since when has the library been an issue? To the point where we're defunding it. The libraries already don't get enough funding anyway. Now you're going to defund the library. Again, make everybody stupid so that you can get them to do whatever you need them to do in the long run, generationally. And that's some of the stupidest crap I've seen. Like, really pay attention to your local politics. Like I said, I don't like a lot of the people that are in power, but I'm also not tapping out of anything. Like, you're not going to see me just sleeping and chilling. Like the thing I hated having to do, one thing that I don't like is that you have to register a lot of times with a party. If they have like a closed primary or a closed caucus, you have to register with that party in order to vote. I think that's stupid. Like, if there are, I'm gonna make up a scenario. If I live in a state and there are 10 Republicans that are running for the Republican nomination to be whatever in that state, and there's 10 Democrats running to be the representation for whatever in that state, and there's a few folks that are whatever else they are, I should be able to vote in each of those elections to pick who I want out of those whatever before they face off. Again, these are primaries and caucuses. So out of those 10, the winner of that 10 is going to go against the winner of the 10 from the Democrats and the winner of whatever else. And then those 5 or 6 all go at it. I should be able to vote for each person in all of those different parties and all of those different categories, because listen, at the end of the day, I would want the best option out of what's there and what's available. Even if I don't tend to vote Republican, I would rather have the best Republican out of them 10 as opposed to the most chaotic one to go against, you know, let's say the Democrat that I wanted kind of sucks because he played the middle. So, you know, there's him or her, and they're not giving me anything that I want. And there's a strong chance that they're going to lose to this Republican. I would at least rather have it be the Republican that I know is not half crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't like the idea of like closed caucuses and closed primaries. Like, I hate that idea because you have to specifically register with a party in order to vote for what you want. And as somebody who does not like, I'm not registered with most parties. Like I'm independent. I vote for what makes sense. But as of late, I've had to always register like with the Democrats when it comes to like local primaries and stuff, which I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, but I get it. So I think that's a stupid idea. But man, you're seeing the nonsense that happens. What else do I want to cover here? Oh, good. Okay, that's all I think of all the heavy, hard political nonsense I've had to talk about today. I think everything else I need to cover is related to entertainment and lighter subjects. But I do want to talk about this stupidity nonsense right here. Tanner Cook. Now, Tanner Cook is this YouTuber, I guess, that does all the big pranks and stuff. You know, they go and bother people that are minding their business and then, you know, upload it. So Tanner Cook, actually, let me see. He was making a prank video in a Virginia mall. It was at like the Dulles Town Center. That's by the airport out in the middle of nowhere, right? And was actually shot by a person he was pranking. So he sat here and tried to do this prank to the person. Didn't go too well. There's a whole argument. There's a fight. He gets shot in the stomach. This is why I say, and this is for people who make online content, do what you do. But leave people alone. Like, y'all don't understand the kind of lives people be living. People be dealing with all kind of nonsense. And the last thing people want to deal with is somebody bothering them in the grocery store, bothering them in Target, bothering them at the mall, you know, doing all these random things. Like, if you're going to do the pranks and stuff, do that with, like, people you're cool. Prank your friends. But even that gets old. Remember there was this era on YouTube where there were all the couples that just did pranks. All like, their whole channel would be prank after prank after prank. And I'm like, who's stupid to think that this is real? Like, at some point, like, what kind of relationship do y'all have if every 5 minutes it's a prank? You know, they come in the house and they're pretending to be dead. And I'm just like, leave people alone, right? Anyway, I want to talk about Xscape, and they're not. Actually, hold on. Before I get to them, let me read some comments and then shift gears here. Let's see. Y'all are lighting up Paula White around here. The African angels are coming. Then she start making up names. I'm like, shut up, Paula. Shut up. like you didn't have a conversation and got introduced. Y'all was playing spades at the table up there in heaven, and then you got everybody's name down. Okay. Up here saying anything. All right. Thank you. Please believe me. All right. Not Tim Fish said oil. They're talking about what all the world powers be fighting about. Yep, oil. Okay. Natasha as well. Yep. They create the problem and then try to create the solution. It's a mess. And that is exactly right. The order of the beast. The VA is its own beast. Like, the VA is so overwhelmed because there are so many veterans that need services. I don't think they're funded properly. And so there's a lot of veterans who don't even go to the VA. They're like, we're checked out on that. I think you definitely have to, like, when it comes to veteran affairs and everything, there has to be a better structure of how that's all managed. But yeah, going back to this library, it's crazy you're taking away the libraries. I just think that's so stupid. It's just, like, it wasn't a job, but I guess like the first time I ever had something to like belong to was the library. So like when I lived in Italy, 4th grade on the military base, they had like this kind of program where you could join and volunteer at different places. So you could volunteer at like the vet, like the actual veterinarian place. You could volunteer at, I think, one of the daycares. I went and did the library, and it was lit because they let me play with the little laser gun and just, you know, a little laser thing to scan the barcodes. I thought that crap was so cool. I used to be so pressed to go and do that like 2 days out of the week. And it was kind of cool because there was a Burger King next to the library on the base. That was the only fast food we had, Burger King and Anthony's Pizza. That was it. But I used to be so pressed to go there. That's when the Whopper was like 99 cents and everything. So, you know, if your mom gave you $5 for the week, you could eat good. But what a time. So I just think it's stupid. To go after, they're just doing everything. But I also am seeing that a lot of federal judges are kind of undoing some of the things that we've seen take place. So I've seen some of the laws in regards to like books and stuff being banned kind of get, you know, they've been put on pause where federal judges are like, no, this is a violation. So no, it's gonna go up to the next level. Somebody said America's collapsing right around us. We're living it. And I think what sucks, I hate to use this phrase, but America could be so great, you know. It could be so, like, America has wasted so much time trying to keep so many people beneath, you know, the white collective, rather than investing in its people and investing in the sciences and healthcare and infrastructure and all these things that would have made sure that we could continue to compete in the global economy and the global affairs and still have a space where the people can still have a decent life. We're so far beyond that because there's just been so much BS for the last 30 years. I give most of my smoke to Reagan because I feel like when Reagan got in there and when he changed that tax code the first time, and then he started cutting how much was going to go to education and hyping up how much more would go to the military and how we started stripping all these different things. I feel like that was one major shift in regard to just the well-being of Americans. I also think when Nixon shifted from the gold standard to pretty much just paper where our money doesn't mean anything, I think that played a huge role as well. I just think there's been, and then also I feel like after we came out of the 80s, we just became a country where, okay, we just gonna keep going into all these places and destabilize all these different governments, all in the name of passing freedom around. And before you know it, inflation has skyrocketed. College is so freaking high now. Like, I mean, you have students paying $50,000 and $60,000 for undergraduate education if they're not at a state school, which is crazy because you just go back to the 70s and the 60s. I mean, people were paying for like a full year of college for under $3,000, which is just crazy. It's like, and so again, we spend so much, not we, but the United States and people in charge and the people that allow the lunatics to get in office and do what they do, spend so much time worried about, bragging about being number one all day. You can't be number one forever if you don't invest in yourself. When you stop investing in the people and everything becomes about corporate greed and lining the pockets of a few individuals. And now here's everybody, falling as collateral. Now you're watching the shift where everything's starting to become automated. So you're seeing people lose those kind of jobs. And with inflation and the cost of living being so high, even high paying jobs don't pay enough for people to sustain and live. And so now we're in a space where there's not a single place in this country where you could even afford a 1-bedroom apartment off of minimum wage, which is something that used to be a reality for a lot of people. You just go back some years where, yeah, you could have a minimum wage job and still afford an apartment. When's the last time you've seen an apartment for $300 or $400? Or even in places that don't have a high cost of living, you'll be lucky to find something for 700. So, times have just shifted, unfortunately. And so I feel like you can definitely turn some of that around, but you're going to still be playing catch up to the rest of the world that decided to invest in themselves. That's why the United States be so pressed about China, because China's on the move. China has their flaws and all the stuff they got going, but they've spent the last few years trying to invest in the people. Now what's working against them is they got too many people. So it ain't quite, even though their population is declining, but they have so many people, it's hard to build an infrastructure, and it's hard to build what you call like that social, like that security net in regard to ensuring that senior citizens and people that are older are taken care of. They don't really quite have the same kind of system we have here. But yeah, the United States is getting nervous about all these other countries that are our competition coming into their own. In the past, we could just blow up everybody and keep it moving. It ain't the same anymore. And I'm not justifying that, saying that was okay when we did it either. Anyway, here we are. J Bug88 said, my first apartment was $450 for a 2-bedroom. I wish. All right, listen, this stupid place I live in now is $300 just to park. $300 a month just to park the car. And mind you, you don't even get an assigned parking spot. You just got to hope you can find a spot. I'm like, man. All right. I'm going to read like 2 more comments, and then I'm going to get to Xscape. And then we got to start wrapping soon because it's going to be midnight in like another hour. Oh, my bell said Anthony's Pizza was on every base food court. Anthony's Pizza was lit too. I loved Anthony's Pizza. That was wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Thank you, Billy Flood. It all goes back to Reagan and deregulation indeed. Like he just lets y'all just do whatever y'all need to do. We need to make sure these banks are making some money. Make sure my friends are making money. You got the guy from Donald Reagan in charge of the Treasury. That should have told you more than enough where we were headed. Put some big banker in charge of the money. All right. Nikita again. Yep. Okay. The average car note is like $700. That's why I ain't buying a new car till mine fall apart. My car is paid off. I am riding that thing until it falls apart. All right. That car, I'm gonna be on fumes. The car gonna be shaking. I'm still gonna be trying to do road trips until that thing. I'm not buying a new car until I completely have to. Like, man, amen for that. All right. So with the whole Xscape thing, I will say, I really wish they could get it together. They got a lot going on. So I think the last time we talked specifically about them, at the time, what had happened? They were just beefing, and it turned out, Latasha had the deal and stuff. But since then, there's been a whole bunch of chaotic things that happened. So like I said, when I went to the concert Sunday, I was like real just observing because I was like, well, let me see how this is gonna go. Let me see how this is gonna go. But there's been so many like, oh man. So I saw the interview with Latasha going on Ricky Smiley's show. Latasha, don't do any more interviews, okay? Don't do any more. It's not helping your case. But the only reason I'm bringing them up is because I ended up watching the last episode because I told y'all I love reality shows based around music. But at this point, I don't even want to watch the show no more. I changed my mind, okay? I was excited to see some funny little stories and laughs, but if I knew it was going to be this, never mind. I'm just watching them destroy their legacy with everything. And Latasha, man, like, I don't want to kick her while she's down, but damn. And see, I think where she really messed up too, people were already getting her about the 30,000 and everything. But what she should have not done, she should have never made that video where, it's the video where she's like laughing at Candy singing. And then she goes and tells all this different stuff and tells the sister, well, if you got all this stuff, post it. And then at the end of it, she was like, at this point, I'm just waiting for my apology. I'm like, okay. And the reason I say that, if you're going to get a record deal in gospel, yes, you can sing. You sing beautifully. Great voice. But the gospel world is a little fickle. If they don't feel that you got the oil, they don't rock with you. So you can't be trying to push and promote a gospel album and you got all this nonsense going on and you out here making who shot your videos and everything at your. How you gonna go get your own? Like, she ain't moving like there's a long-term option. But like Latasha is moving like she had everything set for the next 10 years. Like, I'm not trying to jump all into this because this ain't even my realm of experience. But from what I see, Xscape is her bread and butter. Xscape is also her sister's bread and butter. It's not really Tiny's and it's not really Candy's. They don't need it. So it's like for you to go and, you sit there and you light up Candy, talk about, she, played a clip of Candy sounding a mess and laugh about how she couldn't sing and some other stuff. It's like you're sabotaging the healing process because eventually y'all gonna want to get back together and tour. But now everybody's gonna remember everything that was said beforehand, right? And so you say all that, and then that dang, your sister comes out with a video and puts everything on Front Street, right? And it's revealed, it looks like, y'all did steal the money. Your name is on this stuff. Your husband signed this. There's conversation of a sex tape that they're trying to extort the sister with, and it may possibly tie back to Latasha and the husband. Latasha, you need to keep an eye on that husband because he is bringing you down. Like, man, I ain't never seen somebody go through so much nonsense in like 3 weeks. When it rains, it pours. Like, man. And so I don't know why she keeps doing interviews because they're not helping. And I don't think she has the best demeanor when she's ganged up on. And I think what also kind of sucks for her, which made me feel bad, because then I saw the clip with her crying and the snot and the apologies and everything. And it's kind of like also remember, like, this is not her lane. You know what I mean? Like, Candy and Tiny been doing that crap for years. They come out of, well, they do music, but they came out of reality and all that stuff. So they're fine getting lit up and fried up every day by a whole bunch of folks because they're used to it. Somebody like Latasha, if you go and look at anything she has posted, her songs that she's using to promote the album, she is getting fried up in every comment. I was like, dang, y'all gonna let, y'all are hurting this lady. And so I was trying to give her some grace. I really was. Then I watched that episode. And it showed that they were getting the kickbacks, the extra little payments on the side, through her husband. I'm like, dang, all right, Tasha, you on your own. I can't help you. You good. You done burned too many bridges for me. I'm like, dang, man. And it pisses me off because I really enjoy all of the acts from like back in the day. Like, I love Xscape. I love their music. I love SWV, even though I'm going to need them to work it out. They're doing a lot too. As far as the two groups going back and forth, like, I'm going to need y'all to work it out here. Do something. Like, I don't like when stuff that is intended for like reality TV finds its way into like the realm of their personal lives and spreads everywhere. And now it looks like they're all beefing in real life. Lily got smoked for this person got smoked. I'm like, dang, y'all, this was supposed to be a good thing. Just never mind. I'm good on all of it. But Latasha, she was moving like she had options. Like, you, if you wanted to move like that and fry up Candy's voice and say that Tiny was too nasally and that your sister's voice was too scratchy or whoever else and everything else like that, then you should have been sure that you weren't going to need Xscape anymore. Because I don't know. I don't see the gospel thing working too well. And I feel like she's about to get dropped from the label. Because one, gospel doesn't even sell that well anyway to begin with, unless you're already super established. There's not a lot of money in gospel music unless you're touring. But I don't think people are going to go to pay and see her, sadly. Because I think with gospel music, yeah, you can sing, but like I said, if people don't feel a connection, it is what it is. That's why gospel is really hard to break into, because unlike pop music or what's current, in gospel, you already got to know how to sing. So by her being a great singer, that's just the bare minimum. That doesn't mean much in gospel because everybody can sing. And so we'll see how that goes, because I've been keeping an eye on this, and I'm like, dang, Tasha, you just keep messing this up. You should have just listen. When Tamika, the sister, came and was like, listen, I got these text messages of your husband and he's implicating you in this and all this other stuff, and she took the take one, pass it down. If I was Tasha, I would just left. I was like, you know that I'm not feeling this. I would have just walked out and disappeared for 5 months. Like I was like, Lord, man, a mess. We'll see how this unfolds. I really still think it will be a dope idea for SWV and Xscape to have a tour together. It would be such a great show, but right now, never mind. I changed my mind. Y'all got too much going on. Like, damn, man. Messing up a good thing. Let's just make a show with the boy bands. I feel like the R&B groups might be all right. I feel like Jodeci and Boyz II Men might be all right on a show together. I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot of beef. I think they might be all right. Mm. Let me see here. Yeah, Tasha talked all that trash and couldn't take this. I was like, listen, if you dish it out, you got to be able to take it. Because when she said that bit about Candy, and then Candy was outside the studio, I'm like, what? Just for her 2 days later to be up there snotting. I was like, see, man, like if you're gonna listen, if you gonna jump into that world, you got to be ready for everything that comes. Like, understand, even in this YouTube world, if I say my 2 cents about whatever, I'm prepared for what's coming my way. I'm good. I'm gonna be all right. Like, you say whatever, I'm gonna keep moving. But man, like, listen, y'all got your families beefing. Tamika pulled out them things and take one, pass it down. I said, "Jeez, Louise, everybody lying." That husband is her downfall, sadly. But I think again, that's who she's been with for 30 years. They're not breaking up. That's her rock. They're gonna be together. They're gonna crash and burn together. But hopefully they can work that out. I just think if they knew they had this, if Tasha knew she had this much going on behind the scenes, this many skeletons, and Tamika kind of knew that they shouldn't have done a show. Don't go into a show like that unless y'all have all that kind of stuff worked out. Because that clearly wasn't intended to be in the show, but it made the show some great for entertainment. But dang, it comes at the expense of your family, and at this point, your group. Like, that sucks terribly. Also, here y'all go about Candy's voice again. Listen, like I said before, Candy's voice works for what they do. It's going to be what it is. Like I said, sometimes having a distinctive voice works. That's how T-Boz was. Like, look at TLC. T-Boz was not really a Regina Belle or anything, but her voice worked for the kind of songs that they had. Sometimes that works. You know what I mean? Rihanna has a very distinctive tone that works for pop music, which is why she had all them hits back in the day. So sometimes you can't have the big heavy voice singers sing on everything because it doesn't work, which is why I think producers always had a really, really hard time trying to figure out what to do with somebody like a Jennifer Hudson. Or if you go back in the day, I think that's why somebody like a Phil Perry, who I think is an exceptionally talented vocalist, never really quite blew up like that. You know what I mean? You don't know what to do with their voices sometimes production wise. All right, I have some other topics here that I definitely want to cover. Somebody do me a favor because I did not write this down. Somebody on the title of this video, what are all the names in this topic? I know I talked about Trump. I know I talked about Joe Biden. I know I talked about, yeah, somebody tell me all of the things that are in the title. I just want to make sure I've covered everything that we haven't covered. So I talked about Trump, I talked about Van Jones. We talked about LSU and in that thing of class. We talked about Jill. Okay, I've covered everything. Perfect. Thank you, Shanette. Oh, I also saw the oh, look at you typing the whole thing. It said what now? Okay, Trump booked, Van Jones, Angel Reese, no Jill, no Toy Auntie. Bam. I did that. All right. I got a chance to see the trailer for it's actually out. The trailer for the TLC documentary. That's gonna be really fun to watch. I'm excited to watch that. The only thing, man, I'm not even gonna be in town. One of my friends is having this really big party, so I'm gonna be out of town for the party. But I'm gonna try to do a live about that documentary when I get back. I think I get back the next day, I think. So we'll do a live about that, but that's not till June 3rd. But that looks like it's gonna be a great watch. What else? I'm excited to watch the Tiana Taylor film. That looks like it's really good. I didn't know it was already out, so I'm gonna check it out maybe Thursday, and we'll do a review on it. I talked about the bad prank. Thank you, Harold, for that. Talk about the bad prank. So yeah, that looks like a really good movie. I hope it's really good. And I hope she wins every award if the movie is good that they can throw out there. Let me look through my phone and see what else I needed to cover in here. All right, they covered that. All right, then we might just get to chop it up for a few minutes before I call it a night. All right, we talked about the YouTube prank stuff. Let me make sure if there's anything y'all didn't have. Okay, cool. Oh, oh, DeSantis and Disney. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we know DeSantis and went and changed the structure and everything in regards to the laws that are set up around Disney, and he tried to change the board to pretty much take over. But the board outsmarted him and put in some new bylaws before everything could implement. So pretty much the new board that DeSantis put into Disney has no power. So now he's mad. So he's trying to do an investigation. I said DeSantis is going to be a problem. Y'all need to keep an eye out for him. All right. As much as I dislike Trump and his nonsense, Trump was just cuckoo. He was just in cuckoo land. That's the smoke I had from him. I just didn't know what we were going to get sometimes. DeSantis is just straight up evil. I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if DeSantis is one of those kids that didn't make the football team and then the parents sue the school, so the school gets rid of the whole football program and then he gets jumped after school. I don't know what his experience is, but I don't understand, man. Like, geez, just evil all around, just terrible. Like, Lord, if there's ever somebody I want to get hit by a bus, it's that guy. I hate to say that, but he got to go. Like, he is, oh, jeez. It's terrible all the way around. And be proud about it. Like, how is your political image just you being a jerk and a terrible person all day? Like, that's not anything that's remotely attractive for voters, but people still support him because he done won. He done beat Val Demings. He done beat everybody. Actually, no, Val Demings was she was going against Rubio. But man, the guy that ran against DeSantis was the guy that used to be the governor of Florida way back in the day. But yeah, DeSantis, I don't think he's gonna win against Disney. That's some multi-billion-dollar stuff right there. Disney's gonna still be there. DeSantis won't always be, but Disney ain't going nowhere. Oh, my mom loves this clip. The clip with the bus driver. I know. Dang, if I can't play it because it's too many cuss words, I'm gonna get demonetized. Have y'all seen this clip? It's this bus driver. It's like this white lady driving the bus where she's like cussing out every kid because them kids have shown their behinds on that bus, right? She done went lit up each kid. I'm gonna stick my foot so far up your, my feet are gonna be hanging through your nose, and you guys talk a lot of shit, and I'm gonna she goes, and it's the funniest thing. I died watching that clip. But the bus lady, she resigned. She was like, I'm out of here. But it was interesting because it brought up a conversation where folks were like, was she out of line? Like, was that too much? And what I saw, to me, it looks like this was an area in a town where everybody knows everybody. And she clearly has some kind of established relationship with every kid on that bus because she knew all them kids by name. Because when I think back to when I was in high school on the bus driver did not know our names, right? It was about 60 of us on the bus. And the bus driver just used to drive. The bus driver would only know the names of like the 2 or 3 people who used to do too much all the time. And it was very interesting because like the bus driver, she used to like just turn the radio up as loud as it can go and tune us out. And it was funny because at the time, this is like 04, 05, she used to play Gretchen Wilson, Redneck Woman. That's what would play on the radio. I'm a redneck woman. I ain't no high class broad. I forgot the rest. Dun, 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 dun. I forgot the words, but it's here's to all my sisters. Keeping it country. Dun, dun, dun. Let me get a big hell yeah from the redneck girls like me. Hell yeah. And she'd have that thing just blasting. And we'd be like, what is this? Like, what's she trying to say? But it seems like that bus driver has like an established relationship with all them kids. Like, because the way she was cussing them kids out, that's not how a random everyday bus driver who's had it just flips out. That's like I know your mom, I know your dad. And like, it was very, that was the most funny. I died. Go and watch that clip. I'd play it, but after she cusses too much, and I think YouTube would snatch me down for it. But man, that crap, she lit into them kids. And I knew there was a relationship because you know what? After she told all of them to shut the F up and she better not hear another effing word or she's going to get somebody to F all of them up, all the kids was quiet. Listen, if that was a different situation, like if that was my bus, all the kids would be like, oh, and they would have been frying her up and calling mom and texting, and mom and dad would have been outside the bus waiting for her ready to fight, step off the bus. Like, but none of that happened. So clearly there was some kind of connection she has. It kind of reminds me, like I had a cousin who lives like way out in the country where the kids actually drive the school bus. Like it's like this random, like rarely, it's in South Carolina. It's this area where it's like really, really remote. And so like I have a cousin who they drive the school bus. They're only like in 11th or 12th grade, but like they go and they drive and they get everybody in the neighborhood and go to school. I feel like it's one of those kind of areas where everybody knows everybody, and that's just the standard they got. And so that bus driver was sick of it. I died. She said, I'm ready to make all of you get off and F and walk. I understand her pain. Like there's nothing like driving a bus. I will say, working with the kids, sometimes I wanted to say that to the kids on occasion, but they were little kids. I couldn't cuss them out. But sometimes when I had to take them teenagers somewhere and, they want to horseplay and jump across the seat and I'm driving home. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all one. I can tell you one more time. Like, man. But no, that clip was hilarious. I died. Please go and watch that so y'all can laugh with me. The other thing I saw, this was an interesting conversation because some people were talking about this clip where it's the mom and her son had kept acting up in school. So, rather than doing the way some parents do, where I don't know, they make the kid hold a sign on the side of the freeway, I'm disrespectful, I goof around in class or something else. The mom dressed up like a clown. She dressed up like a clown and went to the class and sat in class with the boys. So she has on like the clown makeup and the big hat, and the kid is just like, man. But the part that makes it so funny is when they're in music class and they're playing those recorders and the mom was right there. That crap was so funny to me, but folks were mad. They were like, they didn't like it. That's humiliating the child. And I hear that, but I feel like if anything, it's more so humiliating for the parent. The only way the child to me is going to be embarrassed is if they fall into that reaction. Like if I was that kid, I would just pretend that it's the funniest day ever and it's the best thing ever, because then that takes away the power from the parent humiliating them. I would just laugh and act like it's the greatest thing ever and play into the clown thing. She played a recorder, I'm like, we would have had a good time. And then I probably would have got cussed out when I got home. But yeah, I was like, I think with that, I'm not gonna lie, I might do something like that as a parent, as opposed to going and beating on the kids and stuff. Like I don't plan on beating children or nothing like that, especially after working with youth for like a decade. You learn so many ways to get children to listen and respect your authority without even having to put a hand on them. Because one, legally, I couldn't do it. They were my kids and it's a job, right? So you find all these creative ways to get kids to listen. So I feel like when that time comes, I feel like I should be okay. But yeah, I thought that was clever. Mom dressed up like a clown. Like I was like, I bet you he won't cut up in class no more. If my mom ever did that, you wouldn't have to worry about me ever cutting up in class again. She said, you want to be a clown? Okay. And then she brought like the little brother too. That was like a little toddler that was like 2 or 3. Like I know that kid got flamed up at recess. Like there's nothing like your parents embarrassing you. I told this story in one of the podcast episodes, but back in 8th grade, me and my friend Chris, we was gonna fight this kid X, right? X had said something about this girl Valerie that we didn't like, and Valerie was Chris's sister. And Valerie's the same girl from the earthquake episode that beat up the girl Shelly in the cafeteria. And anyway, Valerie gets mad when I tell that story, but look, Valerie could fight. Okay, you didn't mess with her. Her whole family could fight. They was from Virginia. They moved to Spanaway. Whole family could fight. I'm glad I was friends with them. I ain't have to ever worry about being on their bad side. But one time, me and Chris, we decided, we gonna fight X. Now, mind you, I'm not even and have never even been a fighter like that. If you listen to the podcast, I got all kind of stories, all kind of fights I've been in. Anyway, so we're going. We're gonna go. It's spreading all throughout the school. This is back before cell phones. This is back before you had camera phones to record everything. So back in the day, if you were gonna get in a fight, everybody talked about it beforehand. And if you lived where I lived, everybody knew you didn't fight on the school property because you get suspended. So you walk to whatever neighborhood and it's gonna go down. So I think around lunchtime, I'm like, yeah, when I get to so and so, tell X, I'm looking for him. He ain't gonna keep talking about my people like that, because kids in the suburbs swear they are so hood. I'm living by a deer and a pond, and we got sage hens walking around on the street, but you can't tell me nothing because I'm thugged out. It's thugged out. I don't know what this world's got. Like trick that was me at the time, right? So talking all this trash. Like, yeah, we gonna fight X. We gonna fight X, right? And so I'm bragging and boasting. There's this girl, Ashley, that somehow finds out about it. She was X's friend. So she had told the principal that, hey, Michael and this kid Chris are gonna go and fight this kid X after school, and they're gonna go to Deerfield and do it because X lived in Deerfield, and so which was like a neighborhood. Like Spanaway was a whole bunch of neighborhoods. It was like Clairwood and Hidden Village and Deerfield and Olympic View and Taylor Point and Crescent Pond, all these different places. And so, we're walking, got our backpacks. There's a whole mob behind us, like at least 60 people. Because again, everybody wants to see a fight. This is before camera phones. So if you missed the fight, you just missed the fight. You had to have somebody tell you about it. Like if you missed it, you missed it. And so you had to be there. That way you could talk about it in the cafeteria the next day, because you were the news reporter if you got to see something that nobody else did. So it's like 60 plus people behind us. We been walking for 20 minutes. Can't find X to save our life. He ain't at his house. We all around. We done walked all through Hidden Village, walked through this place, walking through that place. And I had this big old chain on because Chris had this chain that had like a big cross on it. Like the cross was like the size of my hand. So I'm wearing this big chain. It just gave me a little bit of extra street cred because I'm about that life. And I had a button down shirt at the time, but I had it open at that time. So I'm walking with my chain and everything. We've been running. I'm tired. We finally spot X. X is way off in the distance. And so I'm getting ready to, we gonna run and go get him. I don't know why when people fight, they want to run after somebody. You done already messed up your energy right right there. If you got to chase after somebody, understand you only gonna have energy for about 3 punches, and then you're already gonna be winded because you were running already. But we getting ready to run over there, and then I see this car that looks super familiar. At the time, I think my mom had a Hyundai Sonata, I think. And so I see my mom. I'm like, is that my mom? Is that mom? What? And so the car slows down. It's my mom. All right. And she's, what is this out here? You out here about to fight? Huh? What are you talking? Get in the car. Get in the car. So she pop me in the head to get in the car. And like, she's a family, like Chris and them are our family friend. Chris, go home before I call your mom. And the rest of y'all, take y'all behind. So get out of here. Go. Right. Chews me out in the car. So I'm getting cussed out the whole car ride to the school. Now, mind you, the school is just down the street. So we go to the school and everything. And so, mind you, that moment outside the car, mom let me have it, acting like you fight. Get your butt in this car. You lost your mind. You crazy. Got me coming, like going in. We get to the school. All right. Now, I love my principal, this lady, Miss Barnett. She was like the black principal. She was like our sister Mary Clarence at the school. There wasn't too many black people that worked there, but she was the principal and she worked there. And so we go into this office and my mom was like, yeah, Michael, the school called me. They told me how you out there with Chris going out there ready to go fight somebody over something. I don't know what y'all about to do. You about to jump somebody. And mind you, like I said, I'm not even a fighter. So even with X, because when we did see him, X started running, X wasn't running from me. He was running from Chris. Because everybody, you see me, they're like, what you about to do? Okay, but in that moment, I was confident. So my mom was lighting me up. You over here just acting like, what's wrong with you? And so tell me why. Like Miss Barnett and my mom have like this going back and forth session where they're just lighting me up and frying me up together like a tag team. And it was like, Miss Barnett was like, yeah, because when I saw it was your son, I was like, girl, what? I know it can't be him because he don't ever do nothing. And my mom, I know, because he was asking to be in the play just last week. Because at the time we had a school play I wanted to be in. Yeah, he was just asking to be in the play last week. Now all of a sudden he want to fight. And they're just laughing. I'm like, and I'm sitting there like, what is this? Right. And so the principal's like, yeah, because if we would have found out that anything would have happened to him, even if it didn't happen at the school, he was going to be suspended. But I knew when I saw his name, I was like, it can't be him. So I called you right away. So I'm so glad you was able to come get him. And then my mom did this whole speech about how I was such a great student and I was a good kid and I was an usher at the church. And I was saved and knew the Lord because Miss Barnett was also like the musical director at her church or something like that. She was like a preacher and stuff. It was so embarrassing going to school the next day, man. Like, I got lit up so bad. Everybody had jokes like, yo, remember when Michael's mom came to the school and she was like smacking him in the head, he had to get in the car? You know how embarrassing that is? Like, you done sized yourself up like you're about that life. You about to go out here and throw hands. And when you finally have your moment to prove yourself, mama shows up. And not only that, she don't even yell at you. She yell at you, Chris, and all the other kids. All y'all go home. Like, what a time. What a time. What a time. Man. That's all in the podcast. Go listen to Comedically Hard-Headed. I think I told it better on the podcast, but man, that was a time there. So yeah, like I said, I know that kid was embarrassed with the clown outfit. Like that's the worst. There's nothing worse when your parents. Like one time my dad, it was a school dance and we were supposed to, I think we had something at church or something. So my dad had already told me, you're not going to be able to stay at the dance this whole time because we got somewhere to be. And so I was supposed to meet them out front, I think by like 7:45. The dance started at 7, so I was only gonna get about 45 minutes to get it on in there real quick, and then I had to be on my way. But you know, I didn't have a cell phone. I was in 8th grade, and I never wore a watch. And yeah, there's a clock on the wall in the gym, but they didn't turn the lights down because they got the DJ on and they got the little lasers and stuff. So we in here at the club, right? And so I'm in here just jamming it. What was out in 2001? 2001. What was 2001? I know it's something with DMX. But we out here jamming, right? Having a good time. My dad came in the gym. Michael, I'm like, come on. I'm like, what? And it was so embarrassing. He walked into the gym on the dance floor and called me. I could hear him over the music. Right? I was like, dang, Dad. Because that meant he had to walk into school, go downstairs into the gym, and come grab me out off the floor. I was like, Dad. And you know, middle school, you are super pressed about your image and how people see you. I was like, y'all ain't in there doing nothing. Come on. All to go to church. What a time. Anyway, let me read some comments. We're about to wrap up, folks. All right. D. Bradford, can I say Calvin is fired tonight? He gave us a couple of cuss words. I gotta stop cussing on these lives. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't like cussing in front. I don't like cussing on this out of respect for the older people who watch and people watch with their kids sometimes. Sorry for cussing. It's just it just sounds right sometimes. Sometimes there ain't no other word. It just feels right. He gave us a couple of cuss words. Be nice, nasty to a couple of trolls and giving us a history lesson all at the same time. Thank you, D. All right. Not Tim Fischel said, please call him the stupid. I just call him the Grand Wizard because that's exactly what he is as far as DeSantis, the Grand Wizard. Alan said he can't wait to see the TLC documentary and the Little Ritual. That's going to be a good one too. There's a bunch of one, and there's a Donna Summer one that comes out in May as well. So these are going to be really good. What up, Don Smart? Nikita Clark, that's a good question. What happened to the Tyrese and the Teddy biopic? I really don't know, but that would be Tyrese would actually be really good for that vocally. I have no idea. That's a good question. Oh, Jonathan Majors, Lord. Do you think Jonathan Majors' career will recover, and should it? I don't know if he's gonna recover. You remember how I said they get you out of here when you mess up? And that sucks too. I hated reading that news. I was like, I hope it ain't true. I mean, the details and stuff are still kind of emerging, and they kind of release different things, and he's been charged, and that one hurt my heart to see. I'm like, dang, man. Every time you get behind somebody, something crazy happened. Do I think he'll be able to recover? I think in Hollywood lets a lot of stuff slide, but I don't think it's the same for black entertainers because I don't know. You this big, giant, macho black man too, and they've almost recreated and restructured your whole image around your size and masculinity, and then you got this white girl that's claiming she done got choked and stuff. Oh, they're gonna get him out of here. That's sucks. They're gonna do him just like old boy from Birth of a Nation. I can't think of the guy. Nate something. Same kind of smoke that's gonna happen with him. Like y'all, whew, sucks for him. Really sucks. DeMille said, please, I'm more mad at the people in Florida who keep voting for him. The other problem that's happening in Florida is so much stuff has been gerrymandered. And when you're talking about just, again, when we talk about like the voter disenfranchisement laws, they're cementing so much stuff where it gets harder for certain folks to even vote anyway. And then you're getting penalized for stuff. And remember, like every election, there's all kind of crazy things that happen. So I remember, I think this was in Georgia, people started getting those robocalls, and it was like somebody would like, it was like a black voice talking to the people like, oh yeah, you can vote via text message. Just text, Biden to 7222 and you can vote. Now, all kind of ways to confuse people. And another thing saying, oh, it's illegal to vote this way and you will go to jail. Like they find every way to make sure people don't show up. So yeah, it's a mess out here. Somebody said that bus driver is all we need. That bus driver that crap was so funny. I understood and felt every word she said. If you've ever had to drive a bus with a bunch of kids acting crazy, like, man, you like, look, I used to be petty. The bus we had from my center on the right side, because it wasn't like a full like 60 passenger bus. This is just one of them, but it's like the short bus at the school. That's kind of like what we drove. It only could hold like 15 folks, but on the right side, all the speakers had been blown out, because they always play the music too loud. So the right side used to do like a sound. And so I always had it set up where I'd only have the left side playing. So if them kids start making too much noise, I would just turn it to the right side and turn up as loud as it could go and just be driving. And all the kids were like, oh my God, Mr. Michael, Mr. And I'm just, I told y'all, don't distract me while I'm driving, please. I can't answer any questions. And so, yeah, I too can play that game. I just like to meet the kids where they are. Y'all want to act crazy? I can act crazy too. Let's get it. Somebody said Nuck If You Buck was playing in the back. Look, Nuck If You Buck wasn't out yet. Not when I was middle school. That was high school. Somebody said hood adjacent. Kids in the suburbs. You couldn't tell us we weren't the hardest things on the block. Just thugged out. I told y'all some of the craziest people I've ever been around with folks out of the suburbs. Because I feel like sometimes there's the need to want to prove yourself or prove like street cred sometimes. It's kind of funny. All right. Somebody said yes, that energy will leave you quick after 25. I think that's in response to the athletes. So y'all laughing at my mama smacked me in the back of the head. I'm telling you, she was not playing. Maybe one day we should do a live podcast of Comedically Hard-Headed. That would be kind of cool. I'll think about it. I'm always trying to sign on to do more stuff that I don't need to be doing. Like I got enough time now. Yeah, my mama still like, she has jokes about that too. She thinks that crap was so funny. She was like, now what? She was like, now what was you gonna do when you got there? I was like, I was gonna fight him. She was like, how are you gonna fight him? Show me how you gonna punch him. I was like, here we go. Because mind you, my mama can fight. She ain't no punk. Like she grew up with three sisters, right? Jim Crow South, she could fight. My daddy could fight, right? They played no games. Also, guess what I found out, which is really crazy. So my father and my mom just sent me this picture. Um, Back in the day, my dad went to Jim Jones Church. I think I told you that before. And it was only he wasn't a member, but like so my great grandmother on my paternal side was a member of that church before it got like super crazy. I'm talking about the Jim Jones that took all the folks to Guyana and they drank the Kool-Aid and died. Um, look, this is a picture of her in her like usher nurse uniform fit when she actually was a member of the church. This is my great grandma. I didn't even know what she looked like until literally today. Look, this is her with like this is like the Jim Jones outfit church. Can y'all see this? I don't know if it's focused right. Clean this up some. Dang. Focus. There we go. Okay. That was like the I guess what the ushers or something wore. This is like before this is right when the church had moved from wherever he was in the Midwest to San Francisco. And then this is right before it got crazy when he was in there like beating people and stuff. This is when he was still somewhat level-headed. I was like, it's weird how stuff can just be connected to you that you had no idea about. As much as I don't talk about how crazy Jim Jones was, that's wild. Um, Nate Parker, that was his name. Yeah, them skeletons came back to get him as well. Um, that sucks. Michelle said they gerrymandered a section of Queens, New York for Santos to get in it. And look who they put in. That's my thing. Like if you gonna cheat and stuff, put somebody good in there. You got Cuckoo Santos who done lied and he done had 15 different lies. He done what has he been? He done been an actor and he was doing what else did he done did so much stuff. He lied about being Jewish and lied about his mama dying in 9/11 and all kind of crazy things. That man he is a chameleon. He did everything. He probably was Calvin Michaels at one point. So it's just like, sir, do you mind? I'll just put anybody in there. Mm, mm, mm. All right. Somebody said, "Is Majors anti-black woman?" Just asking. I don't know. I feel like none of us knew much about Jonathan Majors until like 2 months ago. I really he was really good in Lovecraft Country. He was really good in Last Black Man in San Francisco, and I saw him in Creed. Those are the three things I knew him for. But I feel like we just started really seeing him get his publicity and everything with Creed because he went and bulked up and they were really pushing the romantic lover boy image and him holding the flower with the ebony cover and stuff. And so I don't really know much about him, but I'm like, I just really hope that crap ain't true. It just didn't. You don't know people, but I was like, I didn't even get that kind of vibe from him. But look, I don't shoot. But listen, you understand the world you live in, especially when you're a celebrity. You need to be careful with the kind of people you have around and stuff. And then I think it was stupid that the lawyer posted the text messages like, "Oh, this is going to prove that he didn't do anything." And I'm like, well, at this point now, this conversation is confirming that something physically clearly took place. So that sucks. But man, you said, Ashim said, not show me how you was gonna punch him. Ha. Yeah, my mom was like, she wanted to see that. Cause listen, I was never known to be a fighter. Like I was the funny person. You like, even if somebody wanted to stump my face in, usually because I was funny, people let me slide with a lot of stuff. I was the jokester. I was the jokester kid that was funny. That at that point in time, I thought I was gonna be an architect. I used to randomly build things and stuff. Like I was always creating and building things. So if I wasn't doing that, I was doing the theater stuff or I was at the time I thought I was Michael Jackson, like I was the dancer kid, like that. So nobody saw me as the kid that fought, right? So even when I joined the football team, they're like, Michael's playing football. Oh, okay, all right, like so yeah. Even though with track I was getting it in, I'll give you that. But man, track I should have really stuck with. I definitely could have went far with track. I definitely had a scholarship for track, but I ended up going to Howard instead. Um, man. Yes, I'm telling y'all. Yeah, my great grandma was a member of Jim Jones Church before it went cuckoo. Um, and I only knew that my mom was giving me the backstory because I have my dad had 5 siblings. He was the second oldest, but the oldest sister didn't live with my dad and the younger siblings and their mom. The oldest sibling lived with the grandma. And sometimes my dad would go and stay at the grandma for like the weekend, and then they went to that church because that's where the grandma went. Um, so yeah, that's crazy. That is wild. So look, it's a good thing great grandma got up out of there. We wouldn't have been here right now if she would have took a sip. So man, and that's crazy. Y'all done got on a plane and flew to Guyana. But it's interesting again when people are influenced by something or they believe in something. It's crazy what you can see people do. Like I said before, with a lot of these politicians, there's like cult followings, right? You know what I mean? It's almost they worship some of these people. And it's like, how does it get there? It's kind of the same with entertainers too. Everybody has their favorite entertainer, and some people like their entertainers a lot more than others to the point where they're willing to catch a charge for their favorite entertainer. You know, they're going out here and stalking, or if somebody doesn't like the favorite entertainer, they're ready to fight them. And yeah, folks are crazy. Like it's wild out here. All right. Oh, what events and track? So I did long jump, triple jump, hurdles, high jump. I had long feet, so I could jump. I was a size 12 in 8th grade. So it's something about the long feet. And I had like long toes. My toes are almost like not as long as my fingers, but I had like long toes. So that that jump, I used to get it. Um, yeah, and it was crazy because I know in middle school, I hated doing the hurdles in middle school because we had the old hurdles that had the wood. It wasn't the plastic ones where if you hit your knee on it, it was fine. Them old wood ones we had these hurdles from like 1991. And if you hit, just like the inside of your knee on that crap hurts so bad, man. Um, but yeah, I used to have a good time with hurdles. That was a lot of fun. I talk about that in the podcast too. Then they moved me to varsity, and I didn't want to be on varsity yet because I wanted to stay on JV because I wasn't like the way that it was set up for like Cedar Crest Junior High is 7th to 9th grade. 9th grade is technically high school, but we still were in like the middle school building, so they had to put me on varsity by like 8th grade, and I didn't want to be, because I was winning up everything. So as soon as they put me on varsity, some of the varsity setup, it would be like the 9th grade teams, but sometimes they play teams that were in a different division where it was high school. So it's now a school that's 9th grade to 12th. And so now you're racing against like sometimes even 10th or 11th graders. And mind you, this is Washington State. And when you start going to them schools way out in the middle of nowhere, way out in Mount Vernon and what else was I don't remember these little towns, Bellingham and Tri-Cities and Yelm and Roy and Eatonville, all these. I mean, these are kids that just they chop wood for hobbies. And so I knew I was gonna lose all of them. So I was, man, they moved me to varsity. I started losing everything. I was getting so pissed. Um, and then I had a friend, he was on the team with me as well. And then I had told him, I was like, listen, I'm tired of losing. They won't put me back on JV. So listen, if I lose this race or if I see that I'm losing, I'm gonna just pretend I'm hurt because I can't lose no more races. And I remember we jumped out of the blocks. We're going, I'm running. I made that first hurdle, and then I saw all these bigger kids. Because I'm 8th grade, I was about 5'1", I think, maybe 5'1", 90, 95 pounds, right? And so like I'm running, say, for my life, and it's these kids that are like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", and I'm watching them go right past me, and I'm like, so I'm like, let me go ahead and fake the injury real quick. And as I look over, my friend, he's on the ground. Ooh, oh, I'm like, dang, man. So I had to lose by myself. And he wasn't even hurt. I was like, you get on my nerves. Oh, I was so mad. That crap was so funny. And he played that role well because he had it all the way where his mama came and picked him up. I said, there's nothing we could have possibly done that you would have been that hurt from running on some hurdles, especially after the first one. Whatever. Um, what a time, what a time. All right, I'm about to wrap this up because we need to keep it moving. Yes, great grandma has some discernment. I never got to meet her because I don't even know when she passed. But you know, it's crazy. The grandma that's on that side, she passed when I was 4, so I didn't even get a chance to really get to know her either. So that's why I was always so much closer to my mom's side because that's the side I got to spend more time with. And so my California cousins over in like Richmond and stuff, we grew up together. But again, I was the kid from the suburbs that came to visit. So you know, I always had to fight. Those were the fights I had to get in. They was always bothering me because they thought I was like, oh, the little rich kid. I'm like, I'm not rich. Like, man. So yeah, man, I used to have to fight for my life against one of them because it was especially my aunt had 7 kids and 5 of them were boys. And the 3 youngest ones were the ones I was always with. But the youngest one was 1 year younger than me. And then there was another one that was my age, and there was another one 3 years older than me. They would always make me fight the youngest one all the time. And so sometimes I would lose. And then every now and then I'd actually get the upper hand. And when I get the upper hand, if I pop them too hard, then the other 2 jump in like, oh no, you're not about to hit my brother. I'm like, we're all good now. We can laugh about it. But ooh, they used to make me mad when I was little. I used to hate going to their house. All right. Yes, the lean on me hurdles. Exactly. The hard wooden ones. Them things hurt. Um, okay, we're gonna wind this down. This has been a fun live, even though I know we lit up everybody in the first half and had to hurt some feelings around these parts. Um, but man, yeah, this was fun. Um, mm, mm, mm. What up? Oh, look at the cousin getting on at the, you gonna come on at the last 2 minutes. My cousin Brandon got on. What on? What up? What up? He said he's late, but he made it. But yeah, let me see. Um, Battleground Washington. Yeah, that's way out there. I know. Yeah, somebody said they all. Yeah, these were some towns like out in the middle of nowhere. They used to piss me off too, because even when I still did like competitive dance and stuff like all the little hip hop competitions, and when we'd have to compete against teams that were from the middle of nowhere, and then those teams would still win because the judges just like hip hop got added to that category maybe like the year before we all started performing and everything, and so the judges also judged all the other genres of dance. So they would judge, palm or drill or liturgical or jazz or tap, all these other different things are the flag. Because in Washington State, like dance is technically it's one step from a sport. It's an after school activity, but you can still get a letter and stuff. And so, when you have like the hip hop dance team type crap, and man, we would go and there would be schools that just uncoordinated, but them white kids would win up all the competitions. And I used to be like, all right, whatever. Used to be pissed. All right, it's that same Iowa energy, right? When is the live meetup in the Bay? I was supposed to go to the Bay in July. It all kind of depends on what happens with pullover, so I can hit you with the short film and what festivals and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of all depends. But I'm definitely gonna be in California very well. I'm gonna be in LA this month. I think the last week of this month or the first week of May, I'll be in LA. I don't know if I'm going to the Bay then, but I was already planning to go to the Bay in the summer, so maybe something in July. It just all depends on what's happening. Plus, I got a few things that are about to be released, so it kind of it depends on how all of these rollouts and stuff go, because there's a bunch of stuff. Y'all about to be sick of me in 2023. It's about to be just stuff dropping, just dropping and dropping. So be ready. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a night. Mods, I roll with y'all the long way. Thank y'all for holding it down. I know it's tough sometimes to be on here because folks be doing too much. So thank you for making my job easier. Y'all said Janet's gonna be in Savannah. Oh, I saw that. I'm gonna see her here. I'm gonna see her in Baltimore. And I'm gonna go to the Bristol, Virginia show. I always catch Janet twice. One show to just get all my good footage and stuff and record. The other show to just actually enjoy the show and foam at the mouth and pass out on the ground like everybody else. But I love the Bay. The Bay's always fun when I go. So I'll definitely be out that way at some point because I haven't been since 2019. And usually I go every year. Okay, folks, I'm getting off the road this time. So stay sane, stay safe, have a great night. And again, just live in your purpose and don't fall victim to the foolery because folks be playing games and we ain't about that life. Anyway, I am out. Have a good night, folks.